So I feel like I'm gonna end up doing this eventually anyway, just like going through all the levels. So I might as well, you know, do it now and save the, 2,000 uploads, one for each individual enemy in the game. Just do one full playthrough rather than a bunch of little playthroughs or, a bunch of little videos about individual levels. I already picked up the Ashen Estus Flask because I died and I figured I should probably be better at the video game. This, anyway, I want to treat this not necessarily like a critique. Also, I've never had that enemy attack me like that. What the heck? Uh, this isn't necessarily a critique. I just kind of want to go through the game and talk about how it teaches the player to play the game, how it treats its play conditioning, and in what ways, like, I do and don't enjoy that. Not necessarily from like a, oh, well, this part could be better perspective, but more like a, I don't prefer this style perspective, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. It's not that I think it's bad, it's that I don't prefer it. However, I still think this game is very good, and I also want to give it a fair shot. And I think it'll be fun to go through this as a video, as a sort of critique. I don't know, calling it a critique doesn't really feel right. I couldn't really tell you why. Normally, like I said in the Smoldering Lake video, I don't really use a shield in this game. But I feel like when you're fighting a relatively higher level enemy, it just makes sense to do that. To avoid unnecessary difficulty. I don't think Dark Souls 3 is, in my opinion, the hardest of the 3 games. Just because, like, it focuses a lot more on skill than Dark Souls 1 and 2. Dark Souls 1 and 2 are very much more strategy games. Dark Souls 1 is a game of knowledge. Dark Souls 2 is a game of strategy. Or not knowledge, but like knowing how enemies work specifically. And Dark Souls 2 is knowing how to build and how to, like, what gear to use and stuff. Because that makes the game vastly easier. And especially when it comes to like ADP. If you have low ADP, you should be using a good shield. And if you have high ADP, you don't really need a shield. Or if you don't want to use a shield, you can use ADP instead. That's kind of the thing I'm talking about. And in that sense, Dark Souls 3 focuses the most on skill generally. Like, there's a word for what I'm trying to say, but like, literally how good you are at the video game, how quickly you can react, and how well you can pick out your attack opportunities, that sort of thing. And that's what I'm worst at. And I think part of that is because I just enjoy doing the other stuff more. So naturally I do it more, and then I become better at it. For this playthrough, once I get out of the tutorial, obviously, I think I'm just going to use the Claymore, because I really like the Claymore. It's fun to use the Claymore. It's one of my favorite weapons. But, anyway. And, okay, there's not really much I have to say about this place. I do want to talk about Gundyr, because I think Gundyr is one of the worst tutorial bosses in the series. But I don't know, that's a fine tutorial level. There are a lot of enemies that just kind of attack you out of nowhere. Not necessarily out of nowhere, but there are a lot of enemies all grouped up in small spots. And it does a decent job of teaching you how you're going to have to play the game, in my opinion. Gundyr, however, not phase 1. Phase 1, oops, skill issue. It's been, what the? He turned after his weapon was in the ground? Okay. Anyway, I should be better at Gundyr than I am. I'm not good at Gundyr. I fought him barehanded several times, and somehow I'm still not good at it. First phase is fine. I think first phase is actually a really good tutorial boss, and if it was just phase 1, this would be one of the best tutorial bosses in the series. But because there's also phase 2, it gets so much worse. Phase 2 is so terrible, because it's impossible to see what he's doing. His animations barely tell you anything, especially when you're up close, which you need to be to attack him. And you need to be also in phase 1. I have no idea what he just attacked with. I think it was his weird sock puppet hand. It's just, there's so much going on visually that it's impossible to tell what's actually happening. And he has a lot of attacks that I don't think are very good. Like really, really long range attacks. His jump attack is really hard to read and has a weird delay. Like he just kind of stays in the air for longer than he should. which I don't think is good for a tutorial boss, especially since a lot of enemies in this game don't really have that sort of delay. Like others do, don't get me wrong, like Pontiff has that kind of delay, right? But the Crystal Sage's projectiles aren't just gonna like randomly change speed in the air or whatever. I'm not gonna explore this area very much. I'm gonna go through the high wall. I'm not gonna record that because I already have a video on that. Though, now that I'm like trying to get back into playing this game slowly and like meeting the game at its own terms, I'll let you know if my opinion on anything has changed. But largely, my opinion on the high wall came from how it tries to teach the player more than anything. So I don't think I'll really have any changed opinions from that video. So as I was going through the high wall, I got my Claymore 2+2 and raw infused it because, I mean, I feel like that's the best thing you can do. The Undead Settlement, coming into this is a level that, off the top of my head, I specifically remember not enjoying very much, but I've been playing through it recently every now and then for various, challenge runs or to get profiles, or rather characters, up to points where I want to talk about certain levels. And because of that, I think my opinion on the Undead Settlement will have changed a little bit. I think I'm going to end up liking the Undead Settlement at least a little bit more than I expect. And okay, so see, as I said in my Smoldering Lake video, Dark Souls 3 does very much expect you to, like, take out the most present threat, right, as soon as possible, because, enemies just kind of appear behind you. And I think that's going to be a big thing throughout this entire game, or throughout this entire video. I'll try not to focus on it all too much, but that's definitely something that I think you should look out for, and you will notice as I play through this game that I'm not just, completely wrong about how this game works, because I have 200 something, probably close to 250 hours in it. Like, I know how to play this game. And I feel like, and I'm not going to say that this is definitely the case, but a lot of the people, I feel like, who are saying that I'm playing the game wrong, play through the game once. Since, like, I don't think most people who play through this game more than once will slowly go through the areas like you would in your first playthrough of Dark Souls 1, right? Like, you can play Dark Souls 3 like Dark Souls 1, but it's just not going to be as fun, at least not in my opinion. And I don't think that's what the game expects you to do anyway, so that's kind of a moot point regardless. Now, I have gone through these first 20 enemies in the Undead Settlement, like, a lot recently, because I'm trying to figure out how the Estus drop mechanic works, because it's not super well known. There's one specific part of it that we don't know, that we're trying to figure out. So these few, I guess I don't really need to do that. So these few enemies are just like drilled into my brain, all their locations and all that. This is an instance. Yeah, you can barely hear that, him dropping behind you. But I think that's fine, because, like, this, I don't think this is, like, unfair or whatever, because, like, you should be listening out for that. But even if you don't end up hearing it, if it does attack you, it doesn't do very much damage on its own. You probably, and if you just, like, sprint past anyway, like, if you sprint straight down here, excuse me, in my experience, he doesn't end up following you down here very frequently. Like, he can, but usually he doesn't. What? Why are you just backing away? Normally I have a shield to deal with these guys, but because I don't have a shield, What the? Stop moving! He was moving significantly more than I am used to for these guys too. But usually you can hit them off your shield and then they'll stop moving for a second. And then you can, keep attacking them. Or you can just attack them and kill them in one hit. Last time I was here, I had a +10 Astora Stray Sword, so this time I'm doing slightly less damage, but not all that much since, Claymore. Oh god. Okay, I need to get better at stamina management. I used to be good at it, and then I didn't use the Claymore forever and started using straight swords and stuff. And usually when you're using dex weapons in this game, you just don't need to worry about stamina management. Oh god. Okay. Or delays like that. I should know the evangelists better than I do, but I usually just kill them really quickly, like with a backstab or whatever. So, the purpose of this isn't just to, like, talk about my opinions on the game. It's also to develop my opinions on this game further than they are, because right now, as I've been recording the newer videos about how I feel about this game, like, my opinions have changed quite a bit, actually, and I like this game a lot more than I did. And so this series exists just as much to further my opinion as it is to share it in the first place. So expect my opinion to change as I go through the video, but don't expect my playstyle to change, or like the things that I said about how you're supposed to play the game, because I mean, that had been developed for a long time. Whoa, hey there, guy. Okay. Yeah, okay, so like this, right? I didn't like this spot. This was one of my least favorite spots in the entire level before doing this. But now that I understand how to play the game, especially after doing the Smoldering Lake video, this is actually really fun. And if you meet the game on its terms and, like, understand that you're not going to be playing it, or that you shouldn't be playing it like Dark Souls 1, especially, like, this goes for Dark Souls 2 as well, but once you understand that you're not going to be playing this like other Dark Souls games, which is what I tried to do and why I ended up... Oh, wow. Okay, I did not see that one. If you try to play it like the other games, you're going to end up not liking it, is my point. And I was very much guilty of that, and I do not understand how people are telling me to play it like Dark Souls 1, how people think that that's how you're supposed to play it, because that's just obviously not true. I still do absolutely prefer how Dark Souls 1 and 2 did it, right? I do think the slow, methodical gameplay is more fun, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that this gameplay is fun. Does that make sense? And I'm hoping that through the course of this playthrough, my opinion on the game changes significantly more drastically, because right now, like, Smoldering Lake is my favorite level. And, you know, if you played Dark Souls 3, you'll probably disagree that Smoldering Lake is one of the better levels. But, I don't know, it doesn't have a lot of the... I still don't think Irithyll is very fun. Like, I don't think it's one of the better levels. Ugh, Jesus. I think Irithyll is... Or rather, I think Irithyll is one of the worst levels in this game. And because of that, I think it's one of the worst in the trilogy, just in my opinion. But, like, I did really like Smoldering Lake. I liked... a lot of the high wall when I played through it again. And, you know, just now I played through the high wall again, and I really liked that level. I didn't until I met the game on its own terms, which is why, you know, I'm doing this. Like, that area, I don't think is, like, one of the most fun areas in the game or whatever, but I don't specifically dislike it like I did. Again, because I'm meeting the game on its own terms. Also, the fact that the game constantly gives you extra Estus seems to be very much pointing at the fact that it expects you to be aggressive, and it expects you to take damage while being aggressive. So, if anything, the refilling Estus is a point towards not really worrying about unavoidable damage. Not even necessarily unavoidable damage, but damage, unexpected damage, I guess is a better way to put it. Like in Dark Souls 1, you know, you only have so much Estus, and if you get hit by the Drake after beating the Taurus Demon, you know, that can feel kind of cheap, and I get why a lot of people dislike that spot. Oh, Jesus. The lighting makes it really hard to tell that this one is real. Why does that one have so much less health? What? Okay. Anyway. But in this game, you know, because you're... Or even in Dark Souls 2, you know, you have the life gems, and in this game, you're constantly getting the extra little Estus refills, which, in my opinion, makes the unavoidable damage feel less bad, or, you know, unexpected damage feel a lot less bad, because in most scenarios, in all three games, you can entirely avoid all damage on your first playthrough if you're playing as the game expects. That's not true. Sorry, in Dark Souls 1 and 2, generally you can. And in Dark Souls 3, that's not really true, and that's not true of all of Dark Souls 1 either. You know, obviously, like the Drake. And there are certain areas where you have to take fall damage. when you're getting into Nito's Arena or the Stray Demon. In the Stray Demon, you know, the fall just, the floor just kind of falls out of nowhere. So I can see kind of being caught off guard and annoyed by that. Especially like if you got hit by the torch hollows and didn't really think about healing yet because you weren't that low on health and then you died to the fall. I could totally see being upset at that. And I don't know. Dark Souls 1 obviously isn't a perfect game. I don't think it's a perfect game, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything about it given the opportunity. I don't know why. It's just like everything in Dark Souls 1 really adds to the game, in my opinion, and it like makes it feel better. Whoa, I've never seen the Evangelist drop. Oh my god, okay. Someone said that I was trying to do a heavy attack when that happened in my high wall video. Like I was trying to do a backstab, and it did the thrust, and it didn't hit the enemy, and I was like, oh, backstabs are kind of finicky in this game. And somebody commented that I was trying to do a heavy attack when I said that, and they were confused, but like that's not a heavy attack. That's just the animation that plays when you try to backstab, and it just doesn't work sometimes. And like I get that you should be able to connect an attack, but I don't know. I do not like the backstabs in this game. I think Dark Souls 2 probably did them the best because it made them not overpowered at all, you know, because you can like take damage during them and stuff. I think Dark Souls 2 probably handled backstabs the best. Or at least the player performing backstabs, not necessarily being backstabbed. I think all three games do that just fine. Dark Souls 1 backstabs are obviously overpowered. Dark Souls 3s are also overpowered, but also finicky. So Dark Souls 3 kind of just feels like the worst. Bloodborne has a completely different system for the backstabs, and I don't really think that that's worth comparing. Also, fun fact, specifically under the system that gives you the random Estus rewards, this Phantom is the only one in the entire... This is the only thing... I've been parried. This is the only thing in the entire game that's guaranteed to give you Estus. Nothing else. Like, I think other NPC Phantoms do give you Estus, but they use a different system. They don't use, like, the Estus refill system. Can you come down here, please? But, yeah, anyway. I think that's interesting. This is the only invader that uses that system that is specifically guaranteed to give you a refill. Or, you know, Estus. Can you stop doing that? Can you stop? Oh my god. Okay. I think Hodrick is kind of annoying, to be honest. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not. I think most NPC fights in these games, or in at least Dark Souls 2 and 3, are kind of annoying. Like, Armor Dennis is super annoying. But, like, I don't know. NPC invaders generally in Dark Souls 2 aren't specifically annoying. Dark Souls 1, I like a lot of NPC invaders. I think they're fun. But they're also generally really easy in Dark Souls 1, so I don't know how fair that is. But they do, you know, kind of surprise you and add extra, like, pretty fun scenarios that you wouldn't experience otherwise. Paladin Leroy comes to mind, for instance. Yeah, I don't know. But Dark Souls 3, just because I don't like the PvP, that's totally a preference thing, by the way. I'm not saying that that's like a bad fight or whatever. I just don't like PvP in this game. And I don't like the fights that act like PvP fights because I don't like the PvP. Personally, that's just not my preferred style of combat. I don't think those kinds of enemies are fun that try to mimic PvP. And then like the random NPCs all over the place. Like the ones before the Cathedral, right? The road to the Cathedral. Those ones, I don't like dislike them just because they're really easy. I probably should have talked to the giant first, but it's fine. I don't like specifically dislike them. Just because, you know, they're easy and you don't really have to think about them. But I also don't really like that fight that much. They're not one I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to fight those NPCs. While in Dark Souls 1, I'll specifically go out of the way to fight certain NPCs sometimes just because I think those are fun fights. If it's lagging... Oh, that is a spot where you are definitely expected to run through, especially if you haven't talked to the giant yet. So don't get on me for running past enemies there. If I had talked to the giant, you know, I obviously would have dealt with them as they came and treated that specifically. If you had talked to the giant, honestly, if the giant wasn't there in the first place, that would feel a lot like a Dark Souls 2 encounter, where you just have a bunch of enemies coming at you at once and you need to deal with the group as they come. That's kind of true of in the high wall too, where that spot that I said, or that I pointed out, the 5 enemies all coming at you at once. I don't know why I thought that was a negative, because Dark Souls 2 does pretty much that exact same thing. Bonk. Jesus. Like when you get locked in a room by Pate, you get attacked by a bunch of enemies there, right? So like, I don't know why I said that about that. And that's what I mean by my opinions changing. I don't think that was a bad thing. I don't know why I said that was something that the other games didn't do. Dark Souls 1 doesn't do that for sure. Dark Souls 2 definitely does. What? Died? Why did I get an Estus refill there? Estus refills do definitely come from enemies dying, and exclusively from enemies dying. I saw people saying that, like, oh, it might come from people, like, activating bonfires near you or whatever. That's not true. Dark Souls 1 is the only game with a system kind of like that. Because, yeah, in that game, there are, or you will get an Estus refill, or at least an extra Estus flask fill, if somebody kindles a bonfire near you, but that's the only system like that in any of the 3 games, as far as I know. And Estus refills in this game do 100% come from killing enemies. It's just like a random chance that might be impacted by something, and I'm going to make a dedicated video about that. So, you know. Anyway. This next upcoming part is an area that I think is generally, I think the areas are better if you sprint through them, just because going through them slowly only to, you know, get to the halfway point, and then die from some random enemy that showed up behind you that you couldn't possibly have seen coming. Like, that's not very fun in a lot of scenarios. But now that I'm, like, better at the game, I have gone through some of these areas slower at times, and I think the area coming up is significantly better going through it slowly. Also, it's really funny that this guy just teleports away while the cage is still unlocked. Or still locked, I mean. Anyway. I do think it's better to go through this upcoming area slowly because of the enemy layouts, and running past it is really annoying because the enemies are really fast, so you're obviously disincentivized from running past it. You know, that sort of thing. And a lot of the reason that I would generally want to sprint past this area is the dogs. Because usually I think the dogs are pretty annoying. But if you treat Dark Souls like it wants to be treated, if you play the game as it expects, if you are aggressive and play like you need to kill enemies quickly, I think the dogs work really well with that. And I don't know, like, there are certain groupings of dogs that I think are really annoying. Irithyll is a great example, especially with the magic enemies. Like, when it's all fast enemies, it becomes significantly more annoying. But when it's fast enemies grouped with slow enemies, like, you know, dogs with evangelists, or even just the hollows, which aren't slow enemies, but they certainly aren't, like, you know, super fast enemies. I think it works a lot better. And yeah, this specifically right here. These fast enemies combined with, like, the 3 dogs or whatever, that'll end up, I think it's only 2 dogs, because there are 2 dogs over here, and then there's the one by the tree, I think? Actually, I don't remember. That specific combination is, like, all chasing you at the same time. Especially since these guys, like, throw their pot and then just sprint at you and relentlessly chase you. Running past this sucks. But if you take your time and just clear them out, it's really not bad at all. Oops, that was a much faster attack than the other one you used last time. Oop, I need to pay attention to where I'm going. And then there's another pot thrower? I actually didn't know this guy was here. Or, well, I didn't remember that he was there. Bonk. Oh god, I was expecting a stagger. The strong attack didn't stagger. Okay. See, this is fun. I like this game. This is a fun game. You just have to not worry about being good at it, I think. But there are more dogs over here. I don't think those ones end up chasing you unless you specifically go over here. Being around the corner is also, like, it's obviously meant to surprise you. So, and again, with the random Estus drops that you get constantly, and with these probably being the last enemies you fight over here, like, I don't know. I think they're fine. I think it's fine to be surprised and most likely take damage from them because of how fast they are. I think that's fine. I'm okay with that. Now let's see if I can take out the Outrider Knight. Then I'll fight the Stray Demon. And I just want to fight the Outrider Knight first because this bonfire is significantly closer than the Undead Settlement bonfire, and I don't want to have to run through all of that every time, just in case I die to the Stray Demon. If I die to the Stray Demon, I suppose, but given my track record, that seems pretty likely. Usually when I get to the boss of an area, I don't know, it's not really like the boss of the area, but it's the closest this area has. Okay. I wasn't sure if that one would stagger, but I was kind of counting on it. Dark Souls 3 poise is so strange. Not necessarily bad. Wow, I am so good at this game. I thought I was bad at this game. Anyway, I usually end up dying to the boss because I'm bad at the video game. I died to Vort twice, which, like, huh? I didn't in this playthrough. I beat Vort first try because obviously I beat Vort first try. I got hit once through the entire fight. I don't know how I died to Vort twice in the high wall video. Actually, I did beat Pontiff and the Demon King first try, huh? Did I fight a boss in the... Yeah, I beat the Flexile Sentry first try. I don't know. Okay. Never mind. I did die to Vort twice, though. So maybe I should be careful. Not jinx myself. And I'm going to talk to the giant for later as well. As you end up in an area where he can actually hurt you in the Cathedral if you don't talk to him there. Alright. Let's see how this goes. What is that screeching? Oh, it's the birds. Okay. I don't know why I thought that sounded like Hollow screeching. No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, let's see. Not awful damage. Whoa. Is this one different significantly? Ouch. From the one in the Smoldering Lake? I don't know, actually. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. See, I told you I'd die. And I'm not specifically going out of my way to experience the entirety of the area. I'm just kind of playing through, you know, somewhat casually. Just because that's how I tend to explore these games at first. Or at least that's how I did when I first played Dark Souls 3. And I feel like that's how most people explore these games. Like when I played Elden Ring, I kind of tried to exhaustively explore it, but because of all like the random caves and stuff, that ended up being something that I didn't do. So, you know, like I said, I feel like most people... Jesus, that's such a fast attack. I guess that's why Secret is here, though. Wow, he does no damage. Okay, I definitely should not have Move, Secret! I definitely shouldn't have gotten hit by that, though. Okay. At least that doesn't do damage. This guy is so much faster than I remember. Just, the enemy, I mean. Not Secret. There we go. I don't know why I was doing so bad. I guess I expect a giant enemy with a giant axe to be slow, but... evidently. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm not specifically going on my way to try to experience everything. I didn't do that in the Demon Ruins video, or Smoldering Lake video, and I didn't do that in the High Wall video, and I didn't do that in the Irithyll video. I definitely didn't do that in the No Man's War video, so that's just not really what I want out of this. Because if you're going out of your way to explore everything, you're going to have a different experience anyway. That one looks pretty obviously different. Does it drop down? I guess not. Interesting. I feel like it should. Also, I think there are 2 evangelists up here. Oh my god, okay. This is where they drop down. Stop throwing stuff at me. Rude. Anyway, I think there are two evangelists up here. And that's a weird enemy combination because it's just two heavy slow enemies. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad combination. It's just a unique one that tests things that wouldn't be tested otherwise. But I don't think... I don't know. I don't think it's bad. That's my point. I think that's an interesting combination. Even if it might not necessarily be fun on its own. For me, personally. Yeah, they're making out up here. As a gay woman myself, I can appreciate it. That's not that's not a bit. I am actually a gay woman. A lot of people in my comments seem to think I'm a guy, probably because of my voice. That makes sense. But no, I am in fact a woman. Anyway, happy Pride Month. I don't know if I'll be uploading this during June. Hopefully I'll be able to get it out by the end of June, but probably not. This will probably be uploaded in July. Maybe August. I don't know how long this will take me. I'm really bad at keeping with projects, especially long projects. And I don't know, ADHD and autism make it... I think it's more ADHD than the autism. Make it really hard to stay focused on one, really long project for a really long time. But hopefully I'll get this done soon. There's a whole chest here. I didn't notice this. Oh my god, okay. Interesting. I didn't know there were any enemies in this game that specifically attacked after you opened a chest. I mean, besides the mimic, I guess. Interesting. This area has a lot more jump scares than I remembered. Anyway, I think that's the entirety of the Undead Settlement. And yeah, like I said earlier, this is a level that I disliked when I first played through it because I didn't understand Dark Souls 3. I didn't really meet the game on its own terms. I guess this one doesn't drop down, which is weird. And now that I've played the game, met it at its own terms, and all that, I do like it. Are any of these real? Oops. I do like this level. This is a good level. Especially in terms of like Dark Souls 3. Well, I don't know if that's fair to say. After understanding and learning Dark Souls 3, this is a really good level. I don't know how well it works as a tutorial, but I think that's just from me learning with Dark Souls 1 and then coming over to Dark Souls 3. I feel like if I had started with Dark Souls 3 and learned how to play the games with Dark Souls 3, that I would think this is a much better tutorial. But, this is like a series, so I don't even know where I stand on that, whether or not this is a good tutorial. I think just the fact that I was so focused on playing the way I did for Dark Souls... Well, actually, I hadn't even played Dark Souls 1. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 2. Then I played Dark Souls 3. A little bit of Dark Souls 3. And up to, I think, Irithyll? Which is where I stopped. And then I got to the... and then I played all through Dark Souls 1, and then all through Dark Souls 2, and then all through Dark Souls 3. So I don't even know... Like, I didn't really start with Dark Souls 1. So... I kind of started with Dark Souls 3 because it was the first one where I got like a decent amount through it. In Dark Souls 2, I got through like some of the gutter. I did the wharf, and then I did like, I don't know, a little bit of other stuff. How do I even get out of here? Point is, I basically started with Dark Souls 3 because I did this before I did any significant amount of things in Dark Souls 1 and 2. So in that sense, maybe it's not a good tutorial level because it didn't teach me how to play. I did like this game a lot more before I played Dark Souls 1 and 2, but I think that's just because I learned that I like what Dark Souls 1 and 2 do better than this game. But I don't know, I can't really... Am I blind? How the hell do you get out of here? I guess I'll just use a bone. I was getting the Titanite shards that I missed, and I remembered this spot is a great example of you can't possibly predict that enemies will show up, or that certain enemies will show up. Like, there are literally grates over those holes that the rats are crawling out of, and they just come out anyway after you start attacking the first one. So yeah, like, that's a forced ambush, especially since you're most of the time going to be coming from this way after using the grave key. I did the grave key skip. Anyway, I think it's kind of absurd to expect that to not be an ambush. So I don't know why people think that this game doesn't force you to be in ambushes. It happens pretty frequently. Now, as far as I know, the Road to Sacrifices is considered one of the worst areas in the game, just because it's so like linear and short and small, and there's not really much to it. I don't know how much I agree with that assessment. I guess that's kind of why I'm playing through the level. I do not do very much damage. Normally I do significantly more damage to these guys. I need to get my levels up and get this thing heavy infused as soon as possible. Using a +3 raw here definitely doesn't feel great. I guess that's why I'm getting all these shriving stones, huh? At what point? Well, I guess I'll figure that out. I was gonna ask when you get the heavy gem from the Crestfallen Warrior, but oh, actually, that's not bad damage, I guess. But 3 hits from a slow weapon is kind of... Now, I don't dislike the Road of Sacrifices, including like the swamp area at the end. I don't think it's a bad level at all. But, I don't know, it's not one that stands out in my mind as specifically good or bad. Ah! Jesus Christ, that's such a fast attack. Oh my god. Okay, well, that's one of the NPCs that I don't think is that bad. I don't fight her very often, but, you know, when I do, it's really not that much of an issue, just because she has so little health. Are the twin daggers? I can't imagine the twin daggers are anywhere near as good as the twin blades, right? I feel like pretty much no weapon in this game is as good as the twin blades, so that's probably an unfair comparison to make in the first place. Is there anything up here? Whoa, there is. Crazy. I don't think... Yeah, like I said, I haven't explored these areas in a long time. I did explore most of these areas somewhat in my first playthrough, but like once I got to places like the archives, that's what it's called, I kind of just stopped exploring. So I don't think I've ever properly explored the archives. Maybe not even most of the castle. So that'll be a new experience that I will have to learn about when I get there. I feel like the backstab in this game is intended to be used in scenarios like this, where you have enemies like this that have a slow moment first. I really don't like the dagger runs. The dagger runs are so frustrating. Or at least more frustrating than the scythe ones. I don't know, the scythe ones aren't that bad. Oh god. The dagger ones attack significantly faster though. They attack really, really, really fast and just combo. I think it's pretty annoying. I know that saying the game was annoying was a really common theme in my scythe playthrough. And I know a lot of people didn't like that because they came for a challenge run. But it kind of ended up just being a critique disguised as a challenge run, and I really didn't meet the game on its own terms, and I still agree with what I said. I did find it annoying in that playthrough because of the way I was playing. But the game didn't really teach me to play a different way. And at the time, I thought that's how I could have the most fun at the game. So, I don't know. I don't really have any regrets or whatever. Oh, God. And I do still think a lot of this game is pretty annoying. I don't think I disagree that this is an annoying game at this point. But, or not that the game is annoying, but this game has a lot of things that are annoying, I guess. This is an area in which I think it's better to sprint through, because you don't have to deal with, you know, any of these enemies. It's really easy to run past these enemies, just because there's only a few of them. They're pretty slow, and there's a bonfire right past this. But, I don't know, I don't think it's necessarily that much worse to deal with when you're actually going through slowly. So, I don't have anything specifically good or bad to say about this area. Should I go down here? I guess I probably should, huh? What the? Which one are you? What enemy did I forget? The world may never know. I guess enemies do just kind of appear out of nowhere. So, whatever. Okay, I don't know if that's how you're supposed to get down here, but it is certainly a way that you can get down here. Also, as far as I know, this bloated dog is entirely unique to right here. It might not be. In fact, it probably isn't. But it has like a grab attack, and I don't remember seeing it in any other area in the game. Okay, and then there's this red-eyed one, which I don't know if this one's actually any different. It might do more damage than the other ones, but other than that, I don't think that one's any different from any of the others. And I killed those guys a lot in my scythe playthrough to get the Corvian scythe. It took me so long to get that. That was so frustrating. And I'm not doing any NPC quest lines this playthrough because I don't know, don't really want to. Not really any reason to. It doesn't significantly change level design or whatever. That's the NPC quest lines are a separate conversation that I'm not having in this video. I don't know, Dark Souls 3 quest lines especially, Dark Souls quest lines generally, don't know why I'm so bad at fighting these guys. Dark Souls 3 quest lines generally are kind of, but Dark Souls 3 especially, Dark Souls 2 I don't really do, but I like the characters in Dark Souls 2 a lot more than Dark Souls 3. And in Dark Souls 1 I only do them if they give me something cool. So, I don't know. Not really a part of the game that I enjoy focusing on. These guys, these lycanthropes, I feel like having the first one facing away from you in a very non-aggressive stance is a way to try and trick you, and to get them to, you know, ambush you, quote unquote. And I do like that, because generally game design language would say that if an enemy is sitting, or if anything is sitting and facing away from you, that it's not a threat in that specific moment, at least. But, you know, obviously it is very much a threat. I need to get this coal so I can do a heavy infusion, so. Usually, or especially recently, I've been going through this game with faster weapons, so I wanted to do this with a slower weapon, just to see if it's any different, and so far, oh god, I was expecting him to stagger, and I don't know why. I wanted to see if it was any, or like drastically different, especially since my first playthrough was actually with a slower weapon. I think it was with the Claymore. If not the Claymore, no, I think it was the Claymore. It's been a long time since I played this game the first time. The Black Knights in this game I enjoy less than the ones at Dark Souls 1. And I think, I honestly don't know why. In this game, they kind of just consist of rolling behind them to backstab them. Or, you know, roll, attack, roll, attack, roll, attack. Just like, you know, most of Dark Souls 3. But in Dark Souls 1, I guess they also just consist of parry, riposte the whole time. I don't know, I think parrying is more satisfying. That might be why. I couldn't tell you beyond that. Should I go toward the Crystal Sage first? Yeah, I guess so, since I'm not really going into Farron Keep for any reason other than going through it, and I should do that after, since that's like the next area I want to go through. Okay. I was hoping to get the dog out of the way before I was going to get attacked by the spear guys, but why didn't that backstab? Yeah, talk about finicky. I love how they have a massive weapon and are still fast. I don't know, I feel like once you get used to the speed of the game generally, it makes sense that most enemies are fast, but you can't really trust the visual design of the enemies to communicate how fast or slow they are, you know? Which is very much something you can do in Dark Souls 1 and 2. At least generally. Not maybe 100% of the time. Ow, stop it! But a lot of the time you definitely can assume that giant weapons are significantly slower than smaller weapons, and vice versa. But you know, Dark Souls 3, you have this massive, incredibly fast weapon. Same with the Stray Demon from earlier, the Fire Stray Demon. That was really, really fast, despite its size, and using an axe, which are usually slow weapons. But I guess like the Black Knight Greatsword, or the Black Knight with the Greatsword earlier, was pretty slow, relative, all things considered. Yeah, at least these guys stagger in a singlet. I don't think they're that specifically annoying, or whatever, or bad, or whatever. I don't like how many of them there are. Like, there are a lot of them here. And I don't think that's necessarily a fun way to add challenge with them. But I don't necessarily think that this is a terrible area because of that or whatever. So, I mean, I could go either way. Also, why didn't that one stagger? Why did that one have super armor? That's, okay. Like I said in the, was it the high wall video? I don't remember if it was the high wall video or the Irithyll video. But I really don't like the inconsistency. Immediate poison. Jesus. Why was that so fast? I don't like the inconsistency of this game because it's less consistent to deal with than the inconsistency in Dark Souls 1 and 2. I don't think the inconsistency itself is bad, but I do think how inconsistent you are dealing with the inconsistency is bad. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, in Dark Souls 1, you know, all the bosses are going to be using different moves in different orders every time you fight them. In Dark Souls 3, it's going to be the same. But in Dark Souls 3, you know, that boss might be, or might use an attack that's way, way, way more difficult. But in Dark Souls 1, all the bosses' attacks are, you know, relatively similar in terms of difficulty. So, like, I guess it's more the inconsistency of the difficulty itself rather than the inconsistency of dealing with the inconsistency. That's a terrible word to say over and over. You get what I mean, though, right? It's inconsistently difficult in Dark Souls 3, while in Dark Souls 1, there is still inconsistency, but it's still the same difficulty every time. I hope that makes sense. This is another area that I always run through, like 100% of the time I run through this spot, just because dealing with all the mages is, like, not super fun, personally. I think, I don't know how common of an experience that is, but especially with how many random enemies there are. Oops, my bad. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick you in the balls. Yeah, how many enemies there are, and it's like, especially with like the magic user and stuff. But I suppose if you rush the lamp, or you know, the one that wakes them all up, and the magic user, it's not too bad. And okay, another thing that I should point out as an inconsistency, I think, is how there are certain spots where you are expected to like cautiously look around corners like you would be in Dark Souls 1 and 2. Like in this spot, if you don't look around that corner, you're not going to see that guy. I guess the spear is pretty obvious. But like it expects you to slowly look around that corner there, right? To avoid that enemy. Avoid getting surprised by that enemy. But then, you know, like I pointed out in the Smoldering Lake video, there are a lot of instances where slowly looking around corners, you know, will get you hit. So you kind of just need to deal with the ambushes as they come in those scenarios. But in some scenarios, you can avoid the ambushes, and in that sense, that's inconsistent. I don't know if I consider that a necessarily bad thing. Having that level of, you know, flexibility, like being cautious in the first place, but then dealing with the ambush as it comes once you know what's happening, or if it comes, you know what I mean? Like, I think having that level of flexibility is a fun skill to test, but, yeah, I don't know. Alright, let's see. I don't like the Crystal Sage. I don't think the Crystal Sage is a particularly great boss fight, especially since I do such low damage. I should have much higher damage at this point. But anyway, Crystal Sage, not a great fight. First phase is fine. Like, it's not good, but it's not like a bad first phase. But then the second phase gets really, really annoying, in my opinion. Get as much damage as I can here in the first phase. And then the best strategy I found is to run back here and then deal with the clones individually, one at a time. Hey, I got very lucky. Anyway, this phase is really annoying because actually reaching the real one, assuming you're not colorblind and can tell which the real one is, can be unnecessarily frustrating, and it does a lot of damage. Far too much, especially that attack for how quickly it comes out. That is, thank you for demonstrating that so well. That level, or that attack specifically, does a ton of damage and comes out insanely quickly for how much damage it does. I do like the franticness of it. I just don't like if it did less damage, I think this would be a much, much better boss. Not just because it's hard, but because it's like nearly unfair to dodge his attacks sometimes. Like that? Like, are you kidding me? Especially when you're far away and you're not focusing on the main one. I don't know. Not a great fight. Also, I think technically counts as a gank, and a lot of people say that Dark Souls 2 has a lot of gank fights that are really annoying, but no one has the same criticism for Dark Souls 3, despite it having more gank fights, especially early on, relative to the total number of fights generally. And I think that's because it doesn't feel like a gank fight, you know? You're fighting clones of the same boss. You're not fighting several bosses at once or whatever. And then, you know, Abyss Watchers or whatever. It doesn't really feel like a gank fight because they're also fighting themselves. Yeah, anyway. Real quick, before going to the Cathedral, I want to run through the road, or, you know, this part, get to the keep, specifically so I can get my weapon to +4 real quick. I'm just going to sprint past the crab, just because I know for sure that I really don't like fighting the crabs. They're kind of an exception in this, you know, trying to learn the game again thing. Or not learning the game again, but forming opinions on the game again. Now, the real question is whether or not I make these guys fall to their death, and I think the only correct answer is yes. So, hopefully they both drop to their death. One of them might climb on the ladder. That's usually what ends up happening. One of them drops down, just fine. And then the next one ends up trying to climb down the ladder. Or, you know, successfully climbing down the ladder. Whoa. Where's the other one? Hey there. Oh, see? Yeah. Darn. Though I guess it's probably better that I do fight them. Do they not slide down the ladder? I thought they ended up sliding down eventually. I'm like looking up in real life as if that's gonna help me see up in the game. I don't like fighting them both at once. I think fighting them both at once is kind of annoying. Just because, you know, there are two NPCs that attack at relatively similar speeds because all the player, or all the weapons that the player can use all attack at relatively the same speed. So fighting them at the same time doesn't really feel great. But I suppose if you're at the point in the game where you're doing as much damage as me, it doesn't really matter all that much. Let's see. I should have got a dagger, but I guess it might be better that I'm not using a dagger. I'm going to go through a little bit of Farron Keep now. Not all of it. Just up to the point. I'm going to do the first 2 fires. The third one I'm going to leave until after I come back after the Cathedral. Right now, as I'm recording this, I'm not sure if I'm gonna make this one long video. I guess that kind of depends on how long it is. I don't know how long this video is gonna take me to make either, like I said earlier. I don't know if this is gonna end up being one long video or a bunch of shorter, but still long videos. At the very least, I want to get up to Irithyll again in this part. Whoa, okay. That was a weird delay. What the hell? That was so long. Damn. I really wanted to avoid getting poisoned yet, but oh well. Getting poisoned is kind of just inevitable in the Farron Keep, so. I don't dislike poison swamps. I don't think a level being a poison swamp immediately makes it a bad level. In fact, the Farron Keep, I don't hate the Farron Keep. I don't drastically dislike it either, but it's definitely not one of my favorite levels. It's kind of a level that I just run through and forget about. Like, the path that I'm taking is the one that I usually take through the level. I don't usually kill the Grues, though. More recently, I have been, just because I've noticed that not being chased by 7 Grues is preferable to, you know, being chased by 7 Grues. But I'll fight the ones up to this point, and then get the fire and just run straight to the bonfire, since, you know, the bonfire is right there. But I guess for this video, it would make more sense to slowly take them out. And I did upgrade my Claymore to heavy. Not upgrade, I guess, but I infused my Claymore with heavy. The Crestfallen Warrior gives you the heavy gem after beating Crystal Sage, so that's cool to know. And was the perfect timing for me, especially since, you know, it was right after I got the coal. Or, yeah, right after I got the coal. Also, you don't need Shriving Stones. Wait, the Poison Mist doesn't matter. You don't need Shriving Stones to infuse with a different infusion? I thought you had to go back to normal infusion to then infuse with something else, but apparently not. The Grues are not as bad as I remembered. I don't know why, but I remember the Grues being one of, if not the worst enemy in the game. That is not the case. They are not that bad. especially if you deal with them as the game gives them to you instead of, you know, running past all of them and then dealing with 17 at once. I like exaggerating numbers. I'm sorry. It gives it more punch if it seems like you're fighting way more than you actually are. Slugs suck. I hate these slugs. I can one-shot them? Okay, sorry. I'm thinking Dark Souls 1. These guys are still annoying, but just because they're in such large groups. But I guess they're not that bad. Okay. My opinion is actively changing. And my previous opinion was purely down to misremembering. Fake news or whatever. Still don't, you know, think they're great enemies, but they're certainly not bad enemies. The fire ones have really high physical resistance though, right? I think they do. I think the slimes are the ones that I don't like, not the slugs. Though I did remember getting that Undead Bone Shard to be significantly more frustrating, but I suppose I was incorrect. Also, usually I will sprint straight here after beating Vort. Yeah, like I'll beat Vort and then sprint straight here so that I can get this to get my weapon to +3 as soon as possible. But, you know, you can just find shards all over the place before this point. There's really no reason to get this ash. Or, I mean, there's reason to get the ash, like, you know, if you want to change weapons or whatever. But usually I get here so I can buy the shards instead of finding them through the levels. But if I'm going through the levels slowly anyway, whatever. And it's probably better and faster to just find them in the levels anyway, since you can get enough to get to +6 without grinding at all. So I don't know why I don't do that. I am not going to be full of hubris, and I'm going to send the elevator back down. There we go. This is another instance where I remember this boss fight being annoying, but recently I came back and fought it, and it was really easy, and I don't know why I ever thought it was annoying. So I guess we'll see how that pans out. I think I thought it was annoying. Oh god. Stamina management. I need more endurance. I think I thought it was annoying because like the tail swipe attack or whatever. Where you can't just stand under it and be fine. And I thought that that was something that should be possible. Also, that slam attack is a lot faster than the demons in Dark Souls 1. I mean, the game is faster, obviously. But, but also the area of effect on it is significantly smaller. That was incredibly easy. I don't know if I got lucky. I know, like, the rock spew attack is really annoying. But that was really easy. Anyway, the area of effect on that butt slam is much smaller. Which also makes the speed less of an issue. And kind of just changes the dynamic of the boss entirely from, you know, like a turn-based, positioning-based boss to, like, a reaction-based boss. Which I think is less fun, like I said, you know, but I don't think it's worse or whatever. I don't know. Reaction-based enemies aren't bad, but in my opinion, strategy / positioning-based enemies are more fun. That's kind of why the Pursuer is actually one of my favorite bosses in Dark Souls 2, because it's very, very, very heavily positioning-based. You barely have to dodge with the Pursuer if you are, you know, in the right positions, and that makes it really fun to fight for me, I think. It's like honestly, probably one of my favorite bosses in the series. I just think it's a really great boss because it's so heavy on, like, focusing on the positioning rather than dodging or whatever. I think most of Dark Souls 2 is like that, though. A lot, like, most of Dark Souls 2 focuses entirely on, not entirely, but primarily on positioning around enemies rather than dodging as attacks come. You want to be in positions where the attacks, you know, won't even be able to hit you in the first place. I really like that, which is, you know, another thing that I like about the combat in Dark Souls 2. This area doesn't really have much to it, so I don't know. Kind of hard to give a critique for an area that has, like, what? Not very many enemies. And if you take out the Screecher, you know, before it alerts the other enemies, then it's significantly easier, but even then it's just a few hollows. And at this point, if you're not capable of dealing with a few hollows all at once, then, you know, I think you have bigger problems. Because the game very much does teach you, not necessarily teaches you directly, but puts you in situations where you will learn how to do that. Anyway, I am now prepared to go to the cathedral, so I will see you there. This last little bit of the Road of Sacrifices probably won't have much to talk about. This is a very short area with only a couple enemies, and all of it is incredibly easy to run past. Not that I am going to run past it, but like, regardless of how, you know, this area is, it wouldn't have a significant impact on the game whatsoever just because it's so small. What the? Why did that first one go over me? Okay. I have no idea how poison this game works, or if it works. I know Dark Souls 3 poise is weird compared to the other games entirely, and a lot of people think that's funny, including me. But I just don't know how it's weird. Because I know it mostly focuses on super armor, more so than actual poise. I really need to level up my endurance. I really like the look of the Herald set. I think it's one of my favorite armor sets in the game. Though if I remember correctly, it is significantly worse than the Knight set. Oh yeah, in pretty much every way except weight. But I do like how it looks more, so I'm gonna put it on. If I end up struggling somehow, you know. Wow, I think I think the face looks like that because it was completely covered in blood. Yeah. So if you go up and fight that one first, you're gonna get ambushed by this one. And I think that's good because you should be, you know, exploring properly. Though fighting two NPCs at the same time is annoying. And that is a scenario that you should be able to avoid because, you know, the other one's right here. I think they have the Fallen Knight set, which is my second favorite set in the game. If not my favorite, it looks really good. I like the Farron armor in Dark Souls 2, but I don't like it nearly as much in this game. Oh, right, this little bit right here sucks. I forgot about this little area. I talked about this in my Scythe playthrough as probably one of the worst little areas in the game. Like, it's awful. I believe this gives you the spider shield, yeah. This little spot right here, there's not that much here, but it's like 3 or 4 dogs. I think 3 dogs. And then a bunch of archers. Actually, I think it's only 3 archers. It's 4 dogs, okay. It's 5 dogs. That's too many dogs. Way too many dogs. Oh. I wish I had a sweep attack. Actually, is the R2? No, it's a stab. Okay. Very much a single target weapon. I think dogs would be a lot less annoying if you could roll into them to stagger them like you can with hollows. But their poise works completely differently. And you can't even stagger these ones with a roll. They must have more than 0 poise. Anyway, that little area is awful. Just because there are, you know, 5 dogs and one's going to be coming from behind you if you don't take it out first. Though, to be honest, that one that would come from behind you, the one that spawns over there, probably shouldn't be coming from behind you. It's pretty obvious that it's there and is arguably the most present threat. However, the archers also really make that area annoying because you can't really run from the dogs. You just kind of have to... Not annoying, sorry. I should be more careful with my words. It makes it... You have to actively be dodging the archers while taking out the dogs. And because of the nature of the dogs, that's not... I mean, it's... It's not fun for me personally, right? That's... I need to be careful with my words because I do like this game, like I said. This game isn't inherently annoying or whatever. I do like a lot of what this game does. And again, it is growing on me. Going through that, I don't know if it's just because of the specific stats that I have right now, because I do have pretty high health. What is that, like 20 something? Yeah, 24 vigor. I do have pretty high health relative to what I would normally have at this point in the game, you know, because I had the raw upgrade and I went basically entirely into vigor. But that was not nearly as bad as I remember. And I think building toward my strengths in this game really helps with that, though I don't know if the claymore specifically would be toward my strengths. I should have got a torch. I forgot about that. These guys suck. I don't like these enemies. Just because if they hit you once, you're going to lose a ton of health. It's like an unnecessary amount of punishment for, you know, one little mistake. I don't... You can't really run past the grave wardens. Like, they chase you a lot. Like the dogs, actually. The dogs also relentlessly chase you. The grave wardens are the same. And for that reason, I thought they were annoying for the longest time. But just when you're actually fighting them one-on-one like you're supposed to, it's really not that bad. I believe the giant should take these out, right? No? There it is. Which makes this group of, what are they called? Infested corpses or whatever, significantly less annoying. No, this is one of the few enemies that I would call, like, actually annoying. Because of how harsh the punishment is if you even get hit once. Because you have the 3 bleeds that you have to suffer if you get hit once. Before the maggots actually go away, unless you know that you can equip a torch to get rid of that. I think there are other ways to do that, not just grabbing a torch, but I don't know what they are. Granted, they are pretty slow and easy to dodge, but regardless. Why did they immediately get up? That happened twice in a row. The first time I thought it was just because of the terrain it was on, but that one was on entirely flat ground. Weird. Usually I just come right here for the bone shard or whatever. Jesus, I didn't know you could shoot all the way up here. Usually I just go down there for the bone shard and don't even bother talking to the giant, but I did talk to him this time, specifically because of that, when I said that I was going to talk to him later. Is this a shortcut? Where does this... I know this goes down to, like, a couple Titanite lizard... or, crystal lizards. And I think a Titanite... crystal... like, the giant crystal lizard guys. Oh, these things. These are even worse. Oh, and they don't stagger. Okay, I should have grabbed a torch. I wish it was more... I don't know if there's an item description that you can read that the fire gets rid of the maggots. If there is, I've missed that completely. But I wish it was a little bit more obvious that these things were weak to fire and that the maggots would get rid of that. Like, I wish they at least had red eyes, because it is kind of a theme in this game that red eyes means weak to fire, and these guys don't even have red eyes. So, kind of either breaking the design language, or they don't want to clearly communicate that, but they still want a way for people who find that significantly annoying to bypass it, which is kind of weird, especially because you basically have to either find it by chance or, you know, use external sources to find that you can do that. I believe these guys just give you Twinkling Titanite, which I will generally not be using this run. Though when I do use Twinkling Titanite, I always forget about these two for some reason, the 2 crystal lizards down here. Titanite shard. There's a lot of, like, weirdly placed upgrade materials. Like, in the DLC, you should probably be, like, at least +6 minimum, right? By the time you get there. But you can get Titanite shards and large Titanite shards there, which is strange. Like, I guess it's a good way to get them early, but... Alright. This one I have to fight without a shield, which honestly shouldn't be too bad, but you'll see more of how I generally play this game than you would have seen with the one that I fought in the tutorial. You know, assuming I don't obliterate it before it's capable of attacking. Okay. I'm only at +4, so I don't think I'm, like, overly leveled for this. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, normally I would have gone here and done this with the +3 had I not specifically gone out of my way. I didn't know this was here. Had I not specifically gone out of my way to get the 2 extra large Titanite shards from up by the Stray Demon, but I don't know. I feel like +4 is a very normal level to be at this point, if not the expected level. And then the 2 giants in here, you know, also drop the large Titanite shards, though they're not really worth killing. since you also get a ton of large titanite shards in Irithyll. I hate these things. Specifically because they infinitely respawn. And because they can just block your pathway. A lot like that one specific hollow up next to, or just before the gargoyles. There's that one that just kind of always blocks the doorway up to the gargoyles. Or the door, the room that leads to the room with the ladders. They can drop Estus flasks? That's really interesting, actually. That would be very helpful to learn how those work. I think I'm going to start using these to figure that out. Anyway. Yeah, just, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, upgrade materials. Yeah, the point is, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be. Especially because this area is so early on in the game, Oh, I got my healing stuff. Because it's so early in the game, it makes sense that I should be able to kill enemies quickly. That was a scenario where, the enemy came up behind me, but because I was playing as the game expected me to, taking out the most present threat in the moment, and then going back and looking around and dealing with the other ones, I was able to deal with it incredibly easy. Even though... Where the hell did this one come from? Huh? Okay. Even though I was also being attacked by the archer. I feel like that one probably would have gotten up attacked me had I not taken it out there. Oh hey, wow, 2 more that just appear out of nowhere. It's almost like Dark Souls 3 forces you to be ambushed sometimes. Crazy how that is, huh? Crazy how I was right the whole time. My inner H-bomber guy is coming out. Being incredibly smug. Incredibly smug and condescending, but only because I know for sure I'm right. Yeah, I feel like if I had learned to be aggressive when I first played this game, I probably wouldn't like Dark Souls 1 or 2 as much. I like the people who dislike Dark Souls 2 an unnecessary amount probably just don't vibe with the playstyle, and because they're trying to play it like Dark Souls 1 or 3, they end up not liking it because they get in situations that seem unfair, even though if they had played the game differently, they wouldn't have had to deal with that situation in that way. This being vastly better at this game than I was when I first played it, really... Oh, hi there. Whoa, there's 2 of them! Really changes, like, how I feel about it. Most of that being better just comes from understanding how to play the game. Not only how to deal with encounters, but also, literally dodge timing and attacks and whatever. And it makes me like this level a lot more. I think I am, once again, changing my opinion on this level, because I didn't like it. And that was because of, enemies just kind of appearing behind you, or dropping down on you in a way that you couldn't have predicted. Like, I don't think it's fair to say that you could have predicted the enemy dropping down, or the 2 thralls dropping down directly on top of me when I was right here, right? Like, you're supposed to get ambushed there. And I didn't like that at the time, but after understanding that the game, like, is built around that and expects that to happen to you, and playing with that in mind, it makes it a lot more fun to deal with, and it just becomes a new scenario for me to conquer, more so than, a grievance that I have with the game. Hi there. I knew that one was there, and I still got hit by it. I was expecting it to be further in the room, though. Oh, hi. Once again, an enemy dropping down on top of me, though I probably could have seen that one. Yeah, and again, understanding the game's mechanics, too. Like, understanding that it will give me a lot of Estus. So, being hit during being hit during an ambush that I couldn't have possibly seen coming isn't really against, or, a mark to give against the game's design. It's just, like, how the game works and how the game expects you to play. I know people talk about how life gems break the balance of the healing system or whatever, but Dark Souls 2 wasn't going for that, and in the same way, Dark Souls 3 isn't going for that delicate balance either. And that's communicated Jesus, communicated a lot more in the gameplay than the actual healing system itself. But the fact that you get those refills nearly constantly, like I haven't gone through a single level yet where I didn't get at least one Estus refill. Like that, if anything, destroys the delicate balancing system that Dark Souls 1 had. Like, it's gonna be that. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just different. And I'm starting to like it a lot more. We'll see whether or not I end up preferring it over Dark Souls 1 or 2, which I don't think I will, because again, I played this game a lot. And have been playing it a lot more recently and understand that I like it more than I used to. And I so far, I definitely don't prefer it to Dark Souls 1 or 2. Jesus, stop it. Where did this one come from? Okay, one thing I definitely do not like is how often these guys attack. Like, wow. Not even how often, but how long their combos are. That's really annoying. Just the constant slamming of their axe over and over and over and over. The ones in the high wall do that as well. The like Deacon hollows. And it is just as annoying there. I know that you're supposed to be able to, or you're supposed to learn to deal with that. And I don't think it's like necessarily outright bad. But I don't think it's fun to do that. What did that do? Did it do anything? I don't think it hit me, actually. I need to level up my strength as much as I need to level up endurance, jeez. Also, most of the time I play through this game, like I said, you know, I sprint through. So I don't get that many souls. And I think that affects how I see the game. Because in my mind, you are intended to play through the game at a much weaker or much lower level than I am used to. Or rather, you know, a much lower level than you're actually supposed to. I'm used to a lower level, which changes the dynamic of the game in a lot of ways. Because at that point, when your health is below a certain point, you're just not allowed to make that many mistakes. And because the game expects you, not necessarily to make mistakes, that's the wrong way to put it, to take more hits, right? The game expects you to take hits all the time. And if your health is too low, you know, you're not going to be able to take those hits. And I think that really changes my experience with the game. That said, going through and killing, you know, nearly every single enemy every single time I play through the game isn't something that I'm going to be doing. That's just not fun to do every single time. It's fun to do every once in a while. But if I just want to, you know, go through the game with a specific build or whatever, that's a scenario in which I would want to run past everything. This is also a scenario in which I think it's entirely reasonable to run past. And I think is expected to do. Just because you can't really kill the giant from here without specific gear. It just makes sense to me that you're supposed to run past before the giant obliterates you. Though, whether or not you learn that beforehand is a different story. That sounds like an evangelist. But I don't remember an evangelist being up here. Never mind. What do you know? Every day you learn something new, huh? Oh my god. The stamina recovery in this game is so much higher. Like, the stamina management in this game is so much less focused on in the other two games as well, which is why I'm not good at it in this game, because I'm just expecting to not have to worry about it, which is definitely on me. I don't think that one's axe was supposed to be hanging over the wall. But the one that was on the ceiling was a bit more obvious. Where did this one come from? Huh? That one wasn't attacking me, though. Okay. Wasn't sure if that one was trying to run up toward me or not. I believe the mimic is in here. Yeah. And then there's like that weird beast thing that you also see in Anor Londo. Oh my god! Okay. You know, people complain that the mimic can grab you from behind in Dark Souls 2, which is admittedly extremely egregious, but I wouldn't say the hitboxes are that much better here. They're definitely a lot more dodgeable, though. I suppose. Because in Dark Souls 2, you kind of just have to stand back. Otherwise, you will get grabbed. Which I can understand that being a frustration. Ow, ow. Rude. I don't know if you're watching this long, because this is going to be like, what? I'd say probably almost 2 hours into the video at this point, if not over 2 hours. I haven't really been keeping track. If you're still watching at this point, why are you watching? Like, I'm curious if you're genuinely just interested in my thoughts on the game, if you want to, like, learn more about this game's level design that you might not have thought of yourself, or if you're just interested in, like, me as a personality. Why do you watch these videos, and how can I make it better? I would love to know. So I want to make my videos enjoyable to the most amount of people, to the highest degree possible. This is where that enemy drops down. I thought it was further along. Drops down right there, yeah. Can't really see that one coming. But it is pretty easy to run away from it. What the? Already? Okay. That was incredibly easy. I remember that enemy being extremely annoying. But, wow. Okay. I am either significantly better at the game than I used to be, like way better at the game than I used to be, or this game is way easier than I remembered. Or a combination of both. It's probably a combination of both, to be honest. Yeah, I got another Estus refill there. I'm getting them constantly. I'm just not pointing out every single one. This is a weird place for an invasion, in my opinion. I'm probably not going to be embered for the whole playthrough, but I am trying to stay as embered as possible for as long as possible. In my opinion, this is a weird spot for an invasion because you're already getting ambushed by all the thralls. And it's very difficult to know for sure that you have gotten all the thralls and that you're not going to be attacked by them while fighting Kirk. Though I guess that's why there's an invasion here. I don't know. He's not very strong, I guess. He's actually stronger than that beast enemy, though. Oh. Ouch. Uh-oh. Or at least has significantly more health. There we go. I wonder if the game expects you to trade blows with enemies. Because you're definitely going to get hit by enemies at some point, right? But I don't know if in the flow of combat it expects you to trade blows. Because, you know, how the game has hyper armor, right? And that's how it deals with poise. I think it does expect you to trade hits, at least with most kinds of builds. Which no other game other than Bloodborne does. And Bloodborne has the rally system. But I think in this case, the Estus refills do kind of, not necessarily incentivize that, but allow that as a playstyle. Which I think is cool. Now, okay, so when I first heard about the Estus refill system, or when I first figured out about it while I was playing the game, I thought of it as kind of a way to make the game a little easier more than anything. But now that I'm playing it and understanding how the game expects you to play more, it definitely feels more like a way to facilitate a certain playstyle, right? So instead of playing passively like you would in Dark Souls 1 or 2 and avoiding all possible damage, it definitely feels like, and the mechanics facilitate playing a lot more aggressively and taking hits, not intentionally, but, you know, not going out of your way to avoid all possible damage. And that system specifically is one that definitely feels like it incentivizes it a lot. Okay, I was hoping to one-shot, but they have a lot of resistance, I think. Either that or... Well, no, I think they have a lot of health either way. They take longer to kill than I anticipate every time. A lot of poise, too. Where do I go? Hey, I found it. Oh, it's here. Okay, that's weird. Is that why that ladder is there? Wait, no. Oh, this comes back to here. Okay. I confused myself. I believe that goes back this way. Yeah, okay. somebody in a forum post said that vigor is the most important stat in this game. And initially I was inclined to disagree because, you know, in my experience with Dark Souls 1, and a little bit of 2, not entirely, but specifically 1, which a lot of people say this game is more like than 2. You're intended to not get hit, right? Like your whole goal is to not get hit. But but now I'm more inclined to agree with them because having more vigor means you can deal more damage in a shorter time. Just because you can trade those blows, right? Which definitely feels like what the game expects you to do a lot of the time. Oh wait, there's a whole area up there that I can go to here, huh? I don't think I can reach the... I don't remember what these are called. The buttress, yeah. I can't reach the buttress from below, so you have to drop onto it from up here. I think I am going to do this in multiple parts because, you know, a several hour long video is already way too long. And if I do the whole game, it's probably going to be closer to like 7 or 8 hours. And I do not want to upload a video that long. I don't know how far I'm going to go for this part though. Guess we'll see. Oh my god, I was expecting a stagger. I don't know why I was expecting a stagger. These guys don't stagger that quick. Okay. Purely a skill issue on my part. I'm fully willing to admit that. Notice how I haven't gone below, like, what, 4 Estus yet? Actually, maybe while fighting Kirk, I don't remember. But I've had a lot of Estus this whole time just because of the Estus refill system. The game is extremely generous. As it should be, because, you know, its combat really facilitates being hit a lot. Which, you know, isn't a bad thing. It's just not what I was expecting when I went into this. And now that I am playing like that, now that I'm like understanding that you're supposed to get hit sometimes, okay, goodbye, I guess. And like individual hits are less annoying. I'm really starting to like this game a lot more. Like a lot more. You really don't need to worry about being hit every so often. Hi there. Also have a lot of souls, wow. I don't really want to go up to Rosaria. There's not really any reason to. Just because, like, I don't want to do anything with her covenant. I don't want to, like, respec or whatever. Oh, God! Okay. I wasn't sure if I'd be quick enough for with Dark Souls 3 menus. I do not know the inputs to quit out quickly in this game. I am much better at that in Dark Souls 1. Definitely not something the game expects you to be able to do quickly, though. Uh-oh. Okay. You're definitely not supposed to backstab here. That was very close. I'm gonna stop fishing for backstabs and play the game the way it expects me to. Very dangerous backstab fishing there. Come on. Well, okay. Gonna have to run back up there and grab my souls. And see, this is where, in my opinion, the game's level design gets worse when you have to run back through areas, because I don't want to kill every single enemy again. Like, I guess now I know where all the ambushes are, which does make running back through less tedious. I know, you know, which branching pathways I don't need to go on or whatever. But running back, I do think, is still significantly more annoying in this game than it would be in Dark Souls 1. Just because in Dark Souls 1, it's really easy to run past enemies without them ganging up on you and blocking you in a pathway. In this game, it's very difficult to run past enemies without getting stuck, without getting pushed up against a wall or trapped between enemies. Ouch. In like a narrow hallway or whatever. Somebody is shooting darts at me. Oh god. Oh, Jesus. Okay, fighting this guy here is annoying. This guy is probably gonna also be annoying, actually. Specifically because he has a shield. Oops, okay. Skill issue on my part for sure. Okay, well, I guess you can just do that. Never mind. Not as bad. Bonk. I should get a giant hammer and play with that instead. It's probably safer to go around it here rather than on the narrow walkways. Oh my god. Okay, that works. I'm good at this game, I swear. Yeah, okay. Fighting these big knights on these narrow walkways is definitely difficult. I wonder if you're... Or, well, I suppose you don't have to fight them on the narrow walkways. You could definitely bring them over here. But then you'd have to deal with more than one at once, and that's a cool risk-reward system, actually. I like that. Plus, you can just do that. Get them to fall off the edge like the other one did, too. So, didn't even have to hit that second one. I believe in order to get down to Rosaria, you need to take fall damage. You just drop down right there, which is not a bad thing. Mostly because it's an optional area. I've had instances where I took like a lot of fall damage here, though. Yeah, you take quite a bit. Is fall damage proportional to your health? Oh my god. I forgot about these guys. Is fall damage proportional to your health in this? Like your embered health in this game? Like it is in Dark Souls 1? And I believe 2 also does fall damage calculations based on your... No, Dark Souls 2 has flat fall damage, huh? Not percentage based. That is so gross. Anyway, if I remember correctly, this game does fall damage calculations based on your embered health, I believe. And it's percentage based like it is in Dark Souls 1, rather than flat like Dark Souls 2. Oh my god. There are so many of these guys. This is so gross. These are actually a lot like the slugs in the Jesus, Farron Keep. Couldn't remember what it was called. Where there's a lot of them, but they die really quickly, so they're not that bad. I don't think these guys have a chance to drop Estus. But, you know, it's right before... They only appear, like, right before the bonfire, and then there's one somewhere else. So that makes sense. I know I said there was literally no reason for me to come here, but I did it anyway. The first time I did the Deacons of the Deep with the Claymore, I had a lot of difficulty. Just because the Claymore is, you know, much more focused on a single target. But I do still have the running attack, which should deal with groups significantly easier. I never actually get the shortcut. I just run from the top one straight to the Deacons and then beat the Deacons first or second try. It doesn't even matter. I also should have definitely grabbed a dagger, but so I could like dagger walk through here. I guess that's not really an issue. And it would also make sense for me to not have it right now, just because normally I wouldn't, like playing casually, I wouldn't just like grab a dagger for no reason and then figure out that I can use it to get through the sledge quicker. So maybe it's better that I don't. Okay. I'm going to not necessarily just spam roll and actually be careful about timing my rolls so I can dodge. Nice and easy. And I have the Estus Shard and Undead Bone Shard that I haven't used yet. Can I kite these guys? That would be easier. Oh, they have ranged attacks. I forgot. How close are they going to come? This is one of the few instances where it definitely feels like you're supposed to kite enemies because, you know, the threat is right in front of you. So you don't really need to, like... It's not like coming out of a narrow hallway or whatever. It's like you're right out in the open. There are a bunch of enemies. And you can deal with them however you want. And in this instance, I think it makes more sense to kite them. And is easier to kite them. It's not like only one method of fighting them works through the entire game and that's it. You're obviously supposed to use different strategies for different scenarios. Jesus. And I think that should be expected. I don't know if these guys end up aggroing on you or not. Yeah, I almost always run past these guys, and it's super easy to do so, and there's no reason not to. I don't one-shot the deacons. That's gonna make the boss so much fun. I do think the running attack does a little bit less damage than the R1, but still, that's annoying. There's a lot of criticism, in my opinion, rightfully levied toward Dark Souls 1, or sorry, Dark Souls 3, for the combat being very um, R1 roll, R1 roll. But I don't know how fair that is, because that is true of, like, most one-on-one bosses. Like, the best strategy you're going to have against, Dragon Slayer armor, or, hell, arguably, even the Abyss Watchers or whatever, is going to be to dodge, attack, whatever. But against a boss like this, you're going to want to use the full moveset of your weapon. Like, the running attack is just the best attack for me to use here. But, like, I'm not going to end up using that in most scenarios. So, I don't know. It does make sense. Or it does make sense that a lot of people have that criticism because a lot of the fights are like that. But a lot of the fights also aren't like that. And I can understand not liking a lot of the fights that are like that. But saying that the whole game is just like that doesn't really make sense to me anymore. After having properly experienced the game, Also, wow, that was really easy. I don't know why I had trouble the first time I did that with a Claymore. I think I did it with a +3 heavy with actually pretty low strength. Or, yeah, strength, but whatever. I just realized I completely forgot the curse-rotted Greatwood. I need to go fight that real quick before I go on and fight the Abyss Watchers. I think the Abyss Watchers will be a good place to end this part, just because, it's like the first major boss. That's the Welcome to Dark Souls 3 moment, I would argue. That is, like, the first properly difficult boss, in my opinion. Well, I don't know. Like, other bosses are definitely difficult. Crystal Sage, Curse-Hearted Greatwood, I would say they're difficult in your first playthrough. But Abyss Watchers is, like, where you need to understand how to play the game, especially in boss fights, in order to get past it, and is, in my opinion, pretty big difficulty jump. Especially after, like, the Deacons or whatever. Though, you don't necessarily have to fight the Deacons, obviously. And then Wolnir is one of the easiest bosses in the game. But, you know what I mean. I'm a little overleveled for the Curse-Hearted Greatwood. But I do enjoy this fight, actually. I think it's, I don't know, I feel like it is definitely a gimmick fight, for sure, obviously. Oh, I one-shot that Bustral, cool. It is obviously definitely a gimmick fight. And I understand why people would dislike this specific gimmick. But, I don't know, it's really easy. And that doesn't make it bad. A lot of people are like, oh, it's so easy, why would you like that boss? But, like, I don't think being easy makes it worse. And, I mean, in this scenario, obviously, it's way easier than it's supposed to be. But, like, I don't know. I think this is a fun boss with a relatively unique gimmick. It's actually kind of similar to Wolnir in a lot of ways. But I think it differentiates itself enough to be interesting and fun. And figuring out the gimmick in the first place is fun, too. Anyway. I actually wanted to get that specifically so I could get Havel's Ring, but I accidentally used the Soul of a Stray Demon or whatever. So unfortunately I don't get to use that. I got my strength up to 27, which I think is essentially the soft cap if you're two-handing, because that multiplies your strength by 1.5, question mark? It does in Dark Souls 1. I assume it's the same here. I will do research. And now I have 20 endurance, so I'll probably get my vigor up to 30 or 40 before leveling strength again. Alright. I'm not going to explore the entirety of the Farron Keep, because there's not really any reason to, I don't think. In my experience, and also in my initial playthroughs, I didn't really explore the Farron Keep all that much, unless I specifically needed something from it, because like I was doing a sorcery build or whatever. So I'm going to keep that going, and just get this last flame. And I know exactly where this is, but I feel like it's pretty reasonable to follow this anyway, because, it's like a trail of islands out of the poison. Do I want to dodge this guy, or do I want to kill him? I think I want to kill him. I remember him being relatively easy to kill, especially if you're not in the poison while fighting him. But he's really big and scary. Oh my god, that is so much bigger of an AoE than I was expecting. I wasn't even expecting an AoE, to be honest. Ouch. Ouch. What is this? What are these projectiles? Ah! Oh my god, stop. Okay. Pretty easy, but a lot more projectiles than I was expecting. I also don't think that being poisoned is all that bad. I don't know if I mentioned this on my on the first trip through Farron Keep to get the Lord Shards, but I don't know, being poisoned takes so little health from you that like it puts pressure on you for sure, especially if you're at a lower health level, which you probably will be the first time you get to Farron Keep. But like it's such a small health drain, and it's gonna happen when you're in the swamp. That's just kind of, it's less of a, this makes this area more difficult and more of a, this is this area's gimmick. You kind of got to go a little bit faster than you normally, which I think kind of is incentive to specifically not explore it, which is definitely unique. I forgot there were basilisks here. Hazel. Okay, I'll fight them up here. What? Are they invisible? What's happening? Were they supposed to be invisible? Interesting. Maybe it just didn't render, actually, because of my position. Don't do that. Stop. Stop it. Okay. No, don't heal. Okay, they're not that bad. Oh, I have 4 attacks now. I forgot I leveled up my endurance. Also, the fact that you get the homeward bone, like right here, makes sense. Because, again, it's like another incentive to not necessarily explore it. So, it's an incentive to not explore it. Not necessarily a disincentive. And, like, if you really want to explore it, you absolutely can, and it's very easy to do so. But it definitely feels like the game is communicating like, hey, there's not really much of a reason to be exploring here unless you like really want to. I think the same goes for a lot of the poison swamps in the series. The Lake of Rot is a good example of that, in my opinion. And so is Blighttown. That's a good example of that. The Earthen Peak. Honestly, the Earthen Peak is the one exception to that, in my opinion. It definitely feels like you're supposed to explore the Earthen Peak, just because of all like the side pathways and the little caves and stuff. But in that sense, I think Dark Souls 2, the way the poison works in Dark Souls 2 lends to that a lot more. You know, because it's really, really fast. Like, it does a lot of damage really quickly, but it also goes away really quickly. So, if anything, it makes sense that the poison swamp that you're supposed to explore is the one in the game where the poison isn't as dramatic, or isn't as, you know, long lasting as the others. It's less of a long-term time crunch like it is here, and more of a like, don't stay in this specific area for too long kind of thing. A short-term time crunch, I guess. And I never really realized that until now, actually. That's really interesting. I really liked the Earthen Peak. Somebody mentioned that they didn't like the Earthen Peak recently. I don't remember if it was in the comments of one of my videos or in the Discord, but I didn't understand why, because I really like the Earthen Peak. The Dark Wraiths fighting the Grues is interesting as well. I know I keep saying interesting. I don't need to. Words are hard. It is intriguing that they would fight each other, because, you know, most enemies don't fight each other in these games. I know this is the bonfire. I will be getting that. I just want to take out the enemies here first. And I guess in that sense, that's not really something you would do in a first playthrough. Anyway, them fighting each other is interesting because, like, not a lot of enemies do that, and I think in this sense, or in this scenario, they're only fighting each other because the Dark Wraiths are a relatively difficult enemy. So, like, the fact that you don't really need to worry about killing the Dark Wraiths entirely yourselves lends to, like, justifying putting a relatively difficult enemy here. They're also very fast. I think there's one in the high... Whoa! Ow! That hurt. Jeez. Okay. I think there's one in the high wall, which is a bit weirder, but... What is that noise? Was that the summon sign? Do summon signs make noise in this game? They do. I didn't know that. That's really weird. Anyway, having such a difficult enemy in the high wall is interesting. I need to stop saying interesting. It's like having the Black Knights, right? But that one's out of the way, and I think you also need a specific key, and I don't remember where that key is. So, yeah. There's another Titanite, lizard, whatever, guy over there that I am not going to fight, just because there's not really any reason for me to. And I don't think that exploring that area will let me give a significant amount of commentary. It is interesting that there's a shortcut all the way back to the Road of Sacrifices, especially considering the fact that the game is extremely linear generally, and you know, you already have fast travel unlocked, so I don't know why they would have gone out of their way to specifically create a shortcut like that. It might have been to just strengthen the layout of the world. Oh, that's coming from in here. That's them fighting. Okay. Anyway, I think it's to strengthen like the layout of the world in your mind. It's weird that you can't see them fighting, even though there's definitely sound effects. Also, I know this music is a lot of people's, like, or, you know, one of most people's favorite boss themes. It's good. I like it, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. The Dancer is my favorite boss theme in this game, personally. Okay, so the Abyss Watchers. I don't like the Abyss Watchers, just because... How do I put this? It's a very interesting way to do a gank, right? It's unique, and I think it's a fun way to do a gank. I do like this idea, but the fact that they can't all hurt each other, only the red one can hurt the boss, but the red one can also, or red-eyed one, can also hurt you. That's kind of weird. I don't like that discrepancy, that inconsistency. It makes it feel a little bit more unfair than it probably should, with them trying to equal out the gank to make it more fair. Also, the fact that that red-eyed one can go directly after you without even fighting the boss in the first place, depending on who's closer. Like, yeah, see, it's directly attacking me. Oh my god, let me out! Oh, hey, okay. There we go. And then the phase 2. It sucks. The fire trails incentivizing you to basically spam roll because you need to roll more than once. It's not like Gale's Cape where you have to roll more precisely to dodge it. You literally just have to roll more than once. That really feels like it's kind of encouraging spam rolling, which it probably shouldn't be. I don't think that's a very good thing, personally. Though, actually, it might be incentivizing keeping distance, especially when when the boss is attacking, so you can, like, learn the attack pattern. I don't know. The lesson I learned was that I should be spam rolling. I don't know if that's the lesson that you're supposed to learn here, but either way, it clearly didn't teach me a good lesson. And that, I don't know if that's specifically on me, but again, like, it's not like I had played a Souls game before, so I did learn that from here, and then eventually I learned to stop spam rolling as I played Dark Souls 1, and as I played more of this game, I just kind of unlearned that. That was gonna be the end of the video, but it didn't really feel like a good ending. I'm not really sure why, but it just kind of felt unfulfilling as the first part of this experience. So instead, I'm going to try to get past Irithyll to, like, beating Pontiff or whatever. And I also want to do the Profane Capital. I'm also kind of worried that if I start now, or rather if I stop now, the next part will be too long. But I'm also worried that if I go too far, the next part will be too short. But either way, I'm going to do the DLC as its own part. So anyway, these guys getting up immediately, I think it teaches you that really well. Or not immediately, but like you take them out and then they get back up. Because there's the item here that you're probably going to get after you take this guy out, and then you'll turn around and see that he's back up. So I think that is a really good teaching moment for how the skeletons work. The Catacombs is a level that I usually run past because the skeletons are pretty slow. The big ones aren't. The big ones are, I don't want to say, like, annoying, but they're very fast for their size, which can easily throw you off. But the small ones are very easy to run past most of the time. Though I feel like the Catacombs, just like based on vibes, is meant to be a lot more like, how do I put it? Like a lot more slow and not scary, but you know what I mean, right? Like you're supposed to be cautious about it. Oh, also the fact that you don't get souls if the skeletons don't actually die. I feel like that's pretty obvious if you're like paying attention and you don't hear the soul sound, you don't actually get the souls. So the souls are actually, while not diegetic, still a really good indicator for whether or not the enemy is dead. I've never been down here. That's not true. I think I have been down here, but I don't remember what's down here at all. I remember this enemy specifically only appearing at the end of the catacombs, so I guess it's been like a really long time since I've been down here. Oh, also, I realized that the hollows that like alert other hollows, the ones with like the lantern or whatever, are a really good indicator that you're not, or that you're supposed to run in and deal with the most present threat before anything else. This wall is really inconspicuous. That's a very obvious invisible wall. I don't know if that's just me. Anyway, yeah, the guys who alert the other hollows are a very good example of my entire point and kind of prove what I mean, right? Because, like, it's obviously you have to kill this specific enemy or it's going to be significantly harder. And you have to run in and kill them as soon as possible. You can't just, like, slowly start picking them off. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with a lot more enemies and it's going to be a lot harder. So if anything, you know, I feel like if you really don't think that that's how you're supposed to play the game, and there are just like a couple enemies that you might fight like that or whatever, I don't know. On top of the guys that have the fireballs that constantly attack you, like it definitely feels like in everything, especially with like the Estus refill system and everything, that you are supposed to run in, kill the most present threat, and then deal with what comes afterward. Because generally, if you kill the most present threat, the lesser threat will be, you know, even lesser. Is this where I think it is? Oh my god, I dodged all of that? Okay, yeah, this is where I thought it was. Ugh. Didn't dodge all of that, though. Yeah, so this is right down the stairs from where I first came into this room. What the? Oh, skeletons. Also, the fact that not all of them die, or not all of them revive, rather, after they die, is kind of weird. But, again, the souls are a good indicator of that. Is this where I came from? I don't think so. Yeah, no. I think the ones that do revive are generally put in good positions. Because, like, if you're just trying to run past and you end up, you know, cornered, that's kind of on you, to be honest. That's what makes me think that this level is supposed to be a little bit more slow, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more methodical. Because the skeletons feel like they're supposed to ambush you once, and then you pay attention and it never happens again, right? And that's somewhat unique within the scope of Dark Souls 3. So it does feel like you're supposed to play this level a little bit more cautiously. There are other levels like that. Like, I'm not saying that you have to play every single level super aggressively, because obviously the game doesn't expect that. There are situations in which the game would expect you to not play cautiously. Though this ambush, I'm not sure if I think this one is well telegraphed, but you do have the archers that you're probably going to be trying to run past anyway. And you can easily get down to the bottom of the stairs, so you won't go flying off if you get hit by it. You're likely to make it to the bottom of the stairs before the ball reaches you, if you're running because of the archers anyway. So, also that guy breaking the skeleton ball, or rather killing that guy breaking the skeleton ball, feels... I don't know. It makes sense after you notice that it happens, but that would not be my first thought. That killing this one random skeleton dude that's running away from me would break this completely separate ball of skeletons. Also, these homing dark projectiles, especially the ones that come into the pots, are really annoying. Because, like, you'll be rolling through the pots to get an item or whatever, and you'll just be bombarded by projectiles. I don't know what telegraphs that a projectile will be coming out of the pot. Is it, like... No? I do know... Yeah, like that. There we go. I don't know what causes that. Or I don't know... Not what causes that, but, like, what tells you, hey, this one's gonna be dangerous. Oh, it's those ones. Oh my god. It's the ones without the bones in them. Okay. Never mind. I learned. I'm learning. Carthus Milk Ring. I know that makes you invisible when you roll, but isn't that more of a PvP thing? I don't know if it actually impacts PvE whatsoever. And if it does, it's probably pretty minor. I don't know if it gives you more iframes or whatever, though. I'm not going to step on that switch. I saw it. I know. I know how to play the video game. Okay, so I wonder if this one respawns. Though, okay, so it's kind of difficult to kite this one because it has the ranged attacks. Oh my god! Stop it! Stop! Jesus. It's kind of difficult to kite that skeleton because it has the ranged attacks. See, using the traps to my advantage. Sends Fortress over here. So, oh, does this one respawn? What the hell? Going up. I didn't know any of the big ones respawned, actually. Anyway, it's kind of hard to kite this small skeleton because it has the range attacks, which does kind of feel like in this specific scenario, it goes against the doing everything slowly. I don't know how to get over there. Is that... Can you just drop down and go straight to Wolnir from here? I didn't know that. I always thought you had to run to the bonfire. Huh. Cool. Yeah, and that is not getting back up. Crazy how I accidentally found a shortcut. Ouch. I don't want to deal with both of these at the same time. So I'm going to try to take this one out ASAP. There we go. Okay, and it doesn't revive. I don't think skeletons that are going to revive will drop an item either. So even though that isn't diegetic, I don't know, I think it works well enough. Like, immersion isn't really what I'm going for when I play the Souls games, generally. But I can definitely see why you would want more of a diegetic tell, rather than only the soul drop or whatever. I think that also is near the room just prior to the skeleton bridge room. Oh my god! How did I forget about that? I am suffering from skill issue, apparently. I should not have gotten hit by that. Especially since I already knew it was there. Like, I always just run to the bonfire from there because I know the ball is gonna chase me. Okay. I might be a little bit tired, but it's fine. Hopefully. I don't know how much I'm going to explore of the Profane Capital. Because, like, I don't ever explore the Toxic Swamp area. And I probably should. But, like, it's kind of out of the way, right? And somewhat hidden. So I don't know if it makes sense to in this. I will. I think I will, just for the sake of the video. But ordinarily, I wouldn't really explore that. Like, I didn't find it in my first playthrough. Granted, that was at the point of the game where I wasn't, like, trying to explore everything. And that was before I really got into Souls. If this was my first Souls game, then I would have probably been more inclined to play that, or to explore that. Or rather, if this wasn't my first Souls game, if I had played Dark Souls 1 and 2 first, I would be significantly, or I would have been significantly more inclined to explore the whole game, rather than how I played it initially. But, you know, time has passed. We all change. Something philosophy pretentiousness. I think pretentiousness can be annoying, but if someone does actually have a good take, pretentiousness can be really fun. Or even if it's like not necessarily genuine pretentiousness, but like self-aware pretentiousness. That's not the kind of discussion that this video is made for, but I hope you know what I mean. That doesn't sound absurd. There are a lot of slimes down here. I did not know that. I feel like I did know that, and my brain just didn't recognize it. I don't know how you get this ball to break, actually. I think there is a way, I just don't know what that way is. There are a lot more embers scattered around in this game, too. This game is very generous with health items. Whoa, Sorig. I have never been invaded by this guy. Oh my god. Is that the Fume Ultra Great Sword? Okay. Whatever you say. Dark Souls 2 invader now. Oh my god. Dark Souls 2 PvP or too. Not even just a invader or NPC invader. Hyper armor or super armor is so annoying. That's why I don't like PvP in this game. That's why I don't like, that's why my view on Free Day is also a little bit lesser than most people's. Melania too. I just find the super armor to be more annoying, especially because on Melania it just kind of happens randomly. My thanks, huh? Probably should have checked what I got from that. I gotta be careful. Don't get hit by the giant rolling skeleton ball, I guess. Probably the play, right? So yeah, when you see... So you only see this guy, this specific enemy type, on their own up to this point. And by the point you get to the Smoldering Lake, when you see two of them, right, it makes sense that you would want to kite them because you've only fought them individually before that. And in my experience so far, their walk cycles have been separated, so that's a possible thing to do. You know, rather than with the Lothric Knights where it's kind of just by chance whether or not you'll actually be able to separate them. And you know, you've only seen literally one up to that point, so you don't know if the Knight one, or rather the... Oh, this is how you get the Skeleton Ball to break. So you don't know whether the... Oh my god! The Spear one will be, like, slower than the Sword one or whatever. I thought you were dead. Because, like, if they're going to combine more than one enemy, usually in the other Souls games, they'll use a fast one and a slow one. So, like, gank you in a way that feels like you can deal with both of them at the same time, rather than that, like, you're supposed to kite them. But in Dark Souls 3, you know, that's kind of different a lot of the time. Especially when you have a bunch of dogs on you all at once. Dark Souls 3 definitely feels more like it expects you to deal with enemies of the same speed frequently. Okay, I guess you see these guys... Well, I don't know, the Archer one. Seeing this guy, this enemy type combined with the Archer, definitely doesn't feel like you're fighting two of them at the same time. So I think my point about the Smoldering Lake, seeing two of them in the Smoldering Lake together, still stands. But I can see why you might think that that's not entirely fair. Come on, hurry up. I don't want to deal with this for longer than I have to. The Catacombs is pretty small. There's a lot of like hidden passageways and stuff that I didn't go into, but all in all, it's a relatively small level. I don't remember what drops out of this giant skeleton ball. That's a weird illusory wall. Why is that even there? What's the point? I guess it's... Crap. I guess it's so you go up the other way instead, and you encounter the Archer and deal with the other skeleton first. I think it specifically wants you to have that experience that I went through, because if you go the other way, you know, you'd fight the one on its own first. I don't know. I don't know why it would specifically want you to go in that order, but... Oh, right, I forgot it does that. Usually, you can run past and this one won't notice you, so... Oh god, why did my game lag so bad there? Uh-oh. I shouldn't be trading blows this much. That should not be my fighting style, especially once I get to the harder hitting enemies later on. Suspended bridge is wearing thin. Is that a developer message? I think that is, yeah. Okay, so this is another instance where the game, it definitely feels like the game expects you to run past, right? Because dealing with, what is it? Like actually dozens of skeletons. Do they all just get up one by one? Actually, wait a sec. Hold on. Gotta see how quickly these skeletons get up. Do the rest of them only get up once you get on the bridge? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they all got up at once. If you go up this way. Are they getting up? Oh god, they're getting up. I need to go cut the bridge. Run. That is incredibly satisfying, though, watching so many skeletons fall down. Ooh, and an Estus refill. Nice. Perfect for the boss. Wolnir is not a bad boss, in my opinion. I don't dislike Wolnir. But it is kind of feels easier than it should be, especially after Abyss Watchers, and then immediately before Pontiff. Definitely feels out of place. But I don't know. It is a cool gimmick. I do like the gimmick. I am one to be known to like gimmick bosses. I like Bed of Chaos after all, so who am I to say what isn't a good boss, I suppose. If you don't go for the other hand first, he can pull out a sword, which makes that hand almost impossible to get to. I think he's doing it now. And he swings that sword around a lot, and even in his idle stance, it's harder to hit the bracelet on that side. So generally, it's easier to hit that bracelet first. The weak points are super obvious and whatever. Doesn't really feel like it fits the theme of the Catacombs itself, but like, I don't know, bosses don't really need to do that anyway. Generally, I feel like a lot of bosses kind of do, but yeah, like again, I don't know, it's a fine boss. As I'm going through Irithyll again, I want to talk about this encounter because somebody mentioned, oh, well, if you wait long enough, this group will get far away enough from the other witch that they won't, or the other witch won't attack you while you're fighting this one, right? And yeah, that's true. But they walk so slow that it definitely doesn't feel like that's what the game wants you to do. They only got this far before I attacked them because I was starting to record, right? Like, if that was true, they would either walk faster or there would be more to occupy you here before you can run up and attack them and deal with both fire witches at once. Anyway, somebody pointed that out, and like, yeah, they do eventually, but frankly, I don't enjoy waiting as part of my main strategy to go through the levels. And this is the final area that I actually want to go through in this episode, video, part, whatever. Just because I want to save enough for an entire second part. And I think this is approximately halfway through the game. If I have to have my fan on right now because it's just so hot right now. So if you can hear that in the background, I apologize, but I need to have it on. Yeah, so I want to go up to Yhorm, and then obviously I'll beat Pontiff off camera, and then we'll start the next one just after Pontiff, next part. Hopefully I'll be able to get that out next week. If not, there is another video that I want to have in the meantime. So we'll see which one of those two that I end up getting out next week, but either way, the final part of this, which I guess is the second part. I don't know. I think I'll do the DLC as its own part, actually. I think that deserves that. Anyway, I will finish this, I promise. I forgot about Archdragon Peak. I'll come back and do that at some point, probably. Because the Nameless King does kind of feel like, you know, the ceremonial final boss of the game, kind of like Manus in Dark Souls 1. You know, not including Gale or whatever. So, I don't know. I guess it kind of depends. The Irithyll dungeon is... I don't think I've ever gone through this area slowly, actually. Maybe once or twice, but only when I was looking for items, and then I would just run through the rest of it anyway. But, This is a cheap trick. Having this guy push you off after you grab this. Also, it took 2 hits to kill him, huh? You okay? The jailers decreasing your maximum health temporarily it's a good gimmick. I like it. But the fact that it doesn't restore your health to the point that it was beforehand is annoying because it's nearly impossible to avoid every instance of the jailers decreasing your health. So, I don't know. It feels a little bit harsher than it should in my opinion. But, I don't know. It's fine. Jesus. I can't believe I just got jump scared by Dark Souls 3 again. That's happened like 3 times. The other 2 are in the Undead Settlement. That's so mean. I have been down here, I believe. Just not often. Ow. Rude. Oh, you can lock onto the real ones? That kind of... Oh, they're all real. That kind of defeats the purpose of there being fake ones, right? I guess these ones aren't real, never mind. But they do not stand out. Not much of a trick if you can just lock on and know which ones are real or not. But, oh well. Does that require the jailer's key, I wonder? Either. Oh my god! I knew it! I knew it wasn't just going to be a normal hollow. Anyway, I think that this cell requires the jailer's key, which you get way later. Frequently pressing the lock-on button so I know what enemies are and aren't real. Hello. You can explode. Yes, you are. Oh. Wait, this one's staggering? I remember them not staggering for some reason. Is this one gonna explode? Yeah, of course it is. Stamina management. Who needs it? Oh god. I can just press the attack button after it restores every time, I guess. That worked shockingly well. I don't have any rings on. I just realized that. I only have the the silver serpent ring. I should probably put rings on. None of these are that useful, though. Oh, this boosts dexterity. Actually, I didn't know that. Lynn's ring isn't great. Yeah, it's over 50%. Never mind. So it's kind of useless. Yeah, none of these are that useful. I guess I can put on the Pontus right eye just because I don't have anything else. I'll grab the Estus ring. I don't know. It's probably something else. You make gross noises. Oh, I can just open this. I was expecting it to tell me that that was locked. Crazy how the one I don't want to go into is the one that is unlocked, huh? I just think I have so much health. Okay. That's fine. I'm only taking 3 bleed procs. Great magic shield. I guess it makes sense that it has so much health in it if it has a unique drop. But not communicating that that one is specifically different in some sort of, like, visual design or whatever is kind of odd, in my opinion. I feel like there should be something to say this one, might be a little bit more difficult, and your strategy for the other ones might not necessarily work. Does the Screecher... Is that what alerted the other 3 hollows right there? I think it is, right? I would assume so. Which... I don't know if you can stop it from screeching if you want to get that item. And I feel like most people are going to grab that item because it's such a low-risk thing to grab, seemingly, anyway. Not that the random hollows are that dangerous or whatever, but, Pardon me, please don't decrease my health. I would prefer if you didn't. Please don't push me off the edge. I would prefer if you didn't. No, don't. Ow. What the? What does that do? No, wait, stop. Oh, okay, it just makes you slow roll. Wait, I didn't mean to heal there. Oops. I guess the idea with the jailers is to just not get hit at all, right? Like, your health is gonna be low. Especially with this one. What? Oops. Come on. Jesus. kind of unfeasible when they have so much poise. Or not unfeasible, but I don't know. It feels like if the point is to not get hit, then they wouldn't have much, like, health and stamina, or poise rather, to begin with. And then there's... Wait, what is it? Is that under? I hate this thing. I hate walking past this thing. You have to walk past it every time you play this level, and I hate it so much. I'm gonna kill it. Just because I don't like how it looks. It doesn't attack you, as far as I know, but God, it unnerves me so much. We get like a shortcut, technically. Not much of one, but shortcut nonetheless. Is there anything in here? Other than... Jailbreaker's key. I wonder if that's for the cage back down there. I guess I should probably check. I am admittedly curious, because most levels I've explored at least once, and know where generally most items are, or how to get most items in them. Like the... What'd you call it? I know where the jailer's key goes to, right? Because you had to use it to get items for an achievement before. Okay, I guess it doesn't go here. Weird. I have no idea what this key goes to then. Which... I don't know if it makes sense to treat this as my first time playing through this level, because it's not. I've played through this level a lot. I know how to get through it quickly. But this is my first time, like, properly exploring it all the way through like this, you know? Pardon me. Just, passing by. There's another one. Not poise. I didn't mean to say poise earlier. It's the super armor. Which, I mean, is basically this game's version of poise. I believe the menus call it poise. Is this one aggressive? I assume so, right? Because it's right next to an item. I'm gonna wait for my health to come back up, I guess. Slowly. I wish it didn't last so long, because it feels like it's only supposed to last as long as you fight the jailers, right? Because that's kind of like the thing. That's how you fight them. Oh my god. A grab attack, too. Good thing they don't have poise. Jesus. I should have seen that one coming. That one's totally on me. I need more damage. I didn't level up after going through the first part of Irithyll. That's probably why. It's not open from this side. I forgot Irithyll Dungeon was in the way of the Profane Capital, and this is making me not want to go through the toxic area of the Profane Capital. But I don't know. I guess it depends. I don't remember how out of the way it is. And me not finding it was absolutely on me in my first playthrough. Like, I just didn't look around very much. But again, my goal isn't to exhaustively explore the levels. Not by any means. I just kind of want to vaguely go through the levels and experience them as someone would as if they're just, like, going through them casually. And then this is Mimic, which I believe has an Estus shard. Mimics aren't that dangerous, regardless of how much health you have, because they're relatively easy. Oh my god, to dodge? Never mind. I suck at the video game? I thought I was good. I was wrong. Yeah, an Estus shard. And I believe there should be a shortcut around here. But of course we gotta go through the 1,600 enemies here first. Now, I said that in the high wall, that scenario is something that probably would show up in Dark Souls 2. This, less so, just because there are so many enemies here. And so many of them are incredibly fast, and then you have the ranged enemies in the back. Like, this is just a scenario that probably would not show up in Dark Souls 2. Do the ranged ones have less health? I would assume so. After that, anyway. Normally what I do is run straight through here, drop down, and run past the giant and everything. But I should probably explore a little bit, huh? I have no idea what's down here. Ah, door. Why is there a door there? Okay, right. So to get through this way, you have to wake up the giant. which I don't want to do. What the? Oh, the ladder's here. Okay. I don't know why that confused me. I'm very awake right now. Clearly. I have a lot of souls. I do not want to lose these. I don't remember where the shortcut back to the bonfire is, though. I think it's nearby. I think I'm close to it. I just have no idea how close. Rat. There's a bunch of rats here. And this was the only instance that I remembered of the basilisks outside of the swamp. Or outside of... Yeah, when I saw them in the swamp. This is where I remember the basilisks being, if you come up here. I don't remember where they come out of. Making noise, though. Where are they? What? They're both... Oh, that one's a mimic. Okay. Old cell key. That one's probably the one at the beginning of the dungeon. Beginning of the level, whatever. Oh god, it's a Dark Souls 2 mimic. I forgot those were in this game. And the basilisk. Bad timing. Jesus. I know we're near the Profane capital, but I don't know how near we are, like I said, to the shortcut. Okay, I don't want to get petrified. Please. I'm surprised I haven't gotten an Estus refill recently, because we've got a lot of jailers and stuff. Oh god. I need to be more careful. Alright, what's this? Dark cluttering. Okay. I think my biggest problem with the basilisks is how long the cloud lasts, because it feels like it lasts longer than it should, with how you're likely going to be fighting these things. Because they can spray a cloud, sit in their cloud, and then spray another one, and then jump into that one over and over. I had them do that a lot when I was going through the Smoldering Lake this time. Or the Demon Ruins, anyway. Okay, I think there are 2 giant rats here. I usually run past them, but I don't know why, because they don't have that much health. They don't have nearly as much health as the Dark Souls 1 giant rat, and they have also significantly less poise. I need to heal. I need to heal. Let me heal. Stay back. Poke. Oh my god. They can jump. Is there... I know there's a shortcut back somewhere. I just have no idea where. Is it over this way? Okay, I didn't notice me. Good. Like, I know this is how you get to the Archdragon Peak, obviously, but... I have no idea where the shortcut is. I feel like I should, but I just never use it, because I run straight to the Profane capital and don't worry about it. Guess we'll see. Oh, yeah, okay. This is all the way back up here. Okay, the old cell key does not, in fact, go to this cell. Never mind. It occurs to me as I'm running up to grab the Firekeeper soul that I never even talked to Yol after I sent him back to Firelink. So, I don't know if I can still... I don't know if he's dead already. I don't know if you specifically have to get the 5 levels for him to die, or if he can die from some other occurrence, but... either way, I'm 5 levels short, but that's not really a big deal, I don't think. Oh, I never fought the Master! I forgot about this guy. Oops. Okay, he's dead now. If you fight him earlier in the game, he is significantly more difficult. But, I don't know. Guess he's just kind of a normal NPC otherwise. I know you can jump off this elevator early. Yeah, right here. And I think that's just the lightning cluttering, though. So I'm not too concerned about missing it. But I'll grab it anyway for posterity's sake, I guess. Might as well. Oh, lightning blade, yeah. Even more useless. Crazy. Shadow of the Erdtree is out, by the way, while I'm doing this. That shows how much I care about Elden Ring right now. I will play it eventually. Just not right now. I think no matter what, I'm gonna have to fight multiple jailers at once, so might as well just get it over with. Just don't get hit, and everything will be okay. Guess that's how it usually is. Also, usually when I'm running through this room, I have the 2 giant rats chasing me relentlessly as well. So, like, it's not often that I kill all these jailers, but if I'm, you know, using the jailer's key, I don't even remember what that gets you, I'll end up killing all of them. I know there's another mimic here somewhere, I think behind this wall, but I don't remember what it drops at all. What? I 2-shot that one? Why? Is there some sort of instability damage or something in this game? What? Why did I 2-shot that one? Is there counter damage on non thrusting weapons or something? Nope. No, please. Please, no. We're good. Everything's fine. I wasn't even scared. Why were you worried? It's fine. Okay. Let's see what's in this mimic, I guess. I'm gonna wait for my health to go back up again. Put on the Estus ring as well. Just because there aren't that many rings that are that useful to me, since I'm just doing like a normal strength build. And it's not even like I would want a ring to increase my strength. I think the Knight's ring is in the castle, and that does that, but once I get to the soft cap, there's literally no reason. Oh, just Titanite skills, okay. Alright, Profane capital time. I always run past the gargoyle because I hate fighting the gargoyles. Let's see if it's as terrible as I remember, huh? First though, might as well grab this item. Also, this game showers you in Titanite shards after you don't need them anymore. Like, I suppose if you want to switch weapons, it's really nice, but like... God, I have so many. I also meant to trade with, what is it? I don't remember the crow's name in this game. But I meant to trade in order to get a Titanite chunk, so I could get to +7 at this point, but it's not really that important. I'm gonna end up falling off. I don't know why I hate fighting these guys. They're not that bad. I think it's just their jumping stab attacks are difficult for me to dodge, so I just tend to not deal with it. And then there's also the messed up texture down that ladder. Is this what leads to the toxic area? I think so, right? I don't know. There's like a couple really good things for sorcery over there. Other than that, I don't think there's anything useful for your average build. This is Bone Shard? Yeah. And the best gesture in the game, of course. From Gilligan the Laddersmith from Dark Souls 2. And that's why there's so many tall ladders around here. That's funny. I do like that. I always forget that that's supposed to be Gilligan. That's why there's, what, like 1, 2, 3, like 4 or 5 really tall ladders around here. That is quite humorous. Alright, let's see. Was this supposed to be like a cannon? Like a magic fire cannon or something? I mean, there are the pyromancer enemies. Not pyromancer enemies, but they use the giant bowl to shoot fire at you, so basically pyromancy. Oh yeah, there's ladder number 4. Oh god. I didn't know this thing could attack me here. I thought it was only on the bridge. Oh yeah, it is a fire staff, okay. There we go. That one died much quicker. This game's easy. I don't know why people think this game is hard. Oh, there is another one on the bridge. Okay. I didn't know there was a third one. I thought there were only 2. I guess, once again, because I end up running past this. Also, bunch of ladders all over the ground. Gilligan is a silly guy. I suppose this crystal lizard is supposed to trip you up and make you fall there. No. Oh. Not like I need the Twinkling Titanite. That is a pretty obvious pitfall, though. So if you fall down that, that's kind of on you. Let's see. Another one. I suppose you'd normally be coming from the other way, right? I guess if you went for the other crystal lizard and didn't fall, though. At least one of these might trip you up. Especially since this one runs towards the pit. Do you have to drop to get down into this one? I'm actually not sure. So I don't want to. And you're probably going to get toxic no matter what. But at this point, you'll have a lot more health than you did at Farron Keep. So it makes sense that they would use toxic here. But in my opinion, it is significantly more of a time crunch than it should be. Oh god. Ouch. Okay, I want to get out of the goop to a position, or to a more advantageous position. Anyway. Yucky. I hate these things. Do they shoot poison or toxic? I actually have no idea. They can, like, glide? That's so weird. What a weird delay to add. Jeez. Is there anything else over here? Is it just those? There are a couple items. I did not know that. Okay, the toxic isn't as fast as Dark Souls 1 toxic. I'm pretty sure this is toxic, right? Not poison. I think that's a slightly lighter purple. If not, the poison is significantly faster than the Farron Keep poison. But I think all the games have different rates of poison, except for maybe Dark Souls 2. Because, like, the toxic blow dart sniper toxic is way faster than... Actually, what other sources of toxic are there? I think there's a, like, player toxic is slower than the toxic blow dart snipers, as far as I know, in Dark Souls 1, so... Like, the games have different rates of poison, so it wouldn't surprise me if this was just fast poison. Wait, no, that's a Bloodborne thing. Yeah, and the toxic swamp area is pretty small. Oh god. Was there one behind me? I didn't see that one. How did I not see that one? Was that on me, or was it just, like, completely under the toxic poop? Are there blooming purple musk clump in this game? Can I heal this toxic? Or do normal purple musk clumps heal toxic? Assuming, once again, that I was correct in the first place and this is, in fact, toxic. Also, the introduction to these enemies in the big, like, lake area in Irithyll is kind of not great, in my opinion. Because some of them just appear as decoration before you get to the ones that are, like, actually enemies. Which is kind of weird. I don't think that's great. Oh well, I guess. Ah, yeah, the stupid hand ogres. Are all of these alive? Or just this one? God, they're so gross. I don't want to fight it. Kind of thick, though. Come on, come here. Come on. So I can deal with you one at a time instead of all three at once. Oh god. No! Please, let go. I don't want to be chomped. That's not what I'm into. I know I said you were thick, but I didn't mean in a sexy way. Okay, maybe a little bit. But not right now, please. Oh god. No backstab. Oh god, they can sit on you. Oh god. Oh god, no, no, no. What? That one? Okay. These things suck. Eleonora and 2 Dunpine. Do I have musk? Purple musk? Will this... Okay, yeah, so it is toxic. Will these guys aggro if I don't attack them? I'm running. I don't want to deal with them. Like, I know at this point I probably shouldn't be running past enemies, but god, I hate these things. I don't want to deal with them, and they're slow, so they probably won't chase me too far, at least. Can you buy blooming purple moss clumps from the Shrine Handmaiden? If you can. Oh, they definitely can't climb ladders, too. If you can, I'm gonna do that if I die. Because that would make this significantly more tolerable. There's also an NPC invasion on top of this roof, I think. I don't remember if it's an invasion or if there's just an NPC up here. But they drop something sorcery related? Okay, yeah, no, it's just a normal NPC. Oh god. What? Why do you have so much poise? No. Ah! Oh god. I think they drop Homing Soul Mass, right? I assume so. Maybe Crystal's Soul Spear. Oh my god. Uh oh. No, wait, please. Spare me. The toxic might kill me regardless. Logan's... Oh, right. And you can give that to the guy and you can learn crystal sorceries. Oh, this is... Oh, no, I need to run. Go, 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 please. Am I not anywhere? Okay, never mind. I thought the short goes up here. Cool. I'm going to see if I can get Blooming Purple Moss Clump. 1 second. Not sure why I thought the shortcut was there. I do not remember at all where it's at. Alright, Blooming Purple Moss Clumps achieved. I'm just going to run back to where I was because, you know, there's the ladder there. And nothing's going to be able to chase me up that. So, hopefully these things... Oh god. Won't prove me wrong. Can you... I'm sure you can escape this without actually getting toxic. It said toxic on the screen the first... when I got... Okay, I should have noticed that it was toxic in the first place. That's on me for literally just not paying attention. But yeah, you can buy Blooming Purple Moss Clump after giving some ash. I have no idea which one though. I give her all 3 of the ash that I had at the same time, so... But that does make this significantly more tolerable. I think that ogre specifically drops the best sorcery staff in the game. I don't even know if you can call these ogres. Whatever the hell these things are. It's disgusting monsters. No, don't sit on me. There are people that I want to do that, but you are not one of them. Person is a strong word for you, too, so... I'm sorry, that's an insult to people, calling this thing a person. I know some people who would definitely be into it, though. Okay, where's the core sorcerer staff? It's this thing, this mimic. Okay. Right in the... I was going to say right in the balls, but... Well, no. I was going to say that I wouldn't say that because mimics read as feminine to me. But as someone who is feminine and has balls, maybe not. Okay, is there nothing in here? Okay, interesting. Sure is a room. Yeah, and this lets me get back up to the bonfire. But I want to get my souls. Real quick. What is the... Or the Eleonora looked cool. That axe that I got. What is it? This isn't a playthrough where I want to, like, experiment with weapons or whatever. I like the claymore enough. Okay, good. This thing doesn't respawn either. Ooh, an item. What is this? Wrath of the Gods. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that was there. Wrath of the Gods is my favorite miracle to use in any of the games, generally. It's really fun to just walk up to an enemy and explode. Unfortunately, immolation doesn't give the same satisfaction because it doesn't... I don't know, it also harms you, which doesn't feel as good. Does it explode in Dark Souls 3? I actually don't know. I know it explodes in Remastest, but it doesn't explode in Dark Souls 2? But I'm not sure if it explodes in Dark Souls 3. Anyway. Moving on from self-immolation, I suppose. Yeah, you can... I'm sure the shortcut is somewhere down here, right? What the? Oh. I didn't... Where did you come from? What? Where did they come from? Okay, interesting. I know there's a pyromancy down there. And a bunch of rats that I don't want to deal with. So I'm just going to bone, and then we can fight yhorm and be done with this place. Also, the messed up texture, that was never fixed. Like, I'm genuinely shocked that they never fixed that. I assume they just never figured out how. Or it was such a small thing that they didn't worry about it. But it seems like it would either be a really easy thing to fix, so they would have fixed it. Or they just, like, couldn't. So, I don't know. Okay, this one, I'm not fighting. Not right on the bridge, anyway. Just because, you know, fireballs are constantly being launched at the bridge. And that is not worth it. I don't even know if I can come over here, though. Whoa, God. Okay, maybe if it would stay in here. Gargoyles are significantly less dangerous than I thought they were, to be honest. I remembered them being really annoying. But that's just because I ran away and they would constantly do their, like, diving stab attack, which is difficult to dodge. And when you're just running away, trying to get to the boss, you know? I'll take these guys out. I don't remember what they do, but... Oh god, that's what they do! They're essentially pyromancers. Ouch, 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 ouch. Stop it. I didn't do Siegward's quest. Is it Siegward? Actually, I don't remember. I always get Siegward and Siegmeyer mixed up for some reason. But, so he won't be joining us for the yhorm fight. Another gargoyle? I do not remember this one being here at all. What? Okay. I meant to roll, but I just didn't. Oh. There you go. I don't really have heads. They're not, are they? I don't think they technically count as gargoyles. Like, they're called gargoyles, the enemy type is. But I think they're technically grotesques, right? Because they aren't, like, gutter ends or whatever. Thanks, TP Skyin, for teaching me that one. Anyway. Hey, yhorm, how's it going? Of course, you're supposed to grab the Storm Ruler. Grabbing... I think the intended course of action is seeing there's an item, but deciding to grab it after you fight the boss, and then you attack yhorm, do no damage, and then go grab the item. See that it's a weapon, and then realize that you're probably supposed to use it. Oh god. Okay, that's a lot of damage while I was trying to menu. Jeez, yhorm. I pressed the roll button that time. And see, when the boss is this close to the bonfire, I think it's entirely warranted to sprint to the boss. You know, without worrying about enemies on the way. Just because bosses are things that you're probably going to die to at least once. So boss runs kind of feel separate from playing the game normally in that way. Though, that doesn't go for Demon Souls. Just because, you know, there usually isn't a shortcut in Demon Souls. The whole level is kind of part of the boss. Okay, I don't remember. yhorm is really easy, and it's probably one of my least favorite gimmick bosses in the series. And I really don't know why. Like, I just think that the spectacle isn't enough to justify the immense inaction. I'm surprised that didn't hurt, actually. Okay, give me stamina first. There we go. Re-attack. He's a lot more aggressive in this phase. Oh my god. I forgot about the explosions. Still easy, though. Fall over. Imagine. Okay, cool. Got the charge. And yhorm is down. Nice and easy. And of course, that's even easier if you also have Siegward. I assume Siegward. I genuinely don't remember, but... because he'll be focusing on Siegward, and then you can just take your time to do the charge. But... yeah, I don't know. It's not that I don't like yhorm, it's just that I find yhorm a pretty boring fight, just because it's so easy, and it's so short. And the spectacle isn't enough to justify that, in my opinion. Anyway, that's finally where I'm going to end this episode. I already have an outro recording that I did after I beat the Abyss Watchers, so I'm just going to play that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. If you want me to do this in Dark Souls 1 and 2, also, please let me know. I would love to do this. If people want to see that, that's something that would be interesting to see. And I would like to give a special thanks to White Flame, Harrison Briggs, Algebra, The Dire Gay, Funny Guy 619, Falcon, Nikki P. Jones, SDXDD, sorry, Manorock, V, Emily, and Ryan Rickard. I don't know how to end this.